She built an empire on control. He hid his truth in the shadows. When billionaire CEO Olivia Hayes discovers her company's janitor vanishing into the night with a loaded backpack, she sees a threat that needs eliminating. But following Ethan Cole through forgotten streets reveals something far more dangerous than theft. A secret that traces back to her own ruthless decisions, a past she thought she'd buried, and a man whose quiet strength could destroy everything she's built. One choice, two lives. A reckoning years in the making. If you're ready for a story about power, redemption, and the cost of looking away, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The 47th floor of Hayes Tower didn't sleep. Even at 11:30 on a Thursday night, the glass and steel monument to corporate ambition hummed with energy. Servers processing transactions across 6 continents, security feeds monitoring every corner, climate controls maintaining the perfect 68 degrees that Olivia Hayes insisted upon. Everything measured, everything controlled. Olivia stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of her corner office, Manhattan spread below her like a kingdom of light. 30 years old. Youngest female CEO of a Fortune 500 company, built Hayes Industries from her father's failing tech startup into a $12 billion empire in 8 years. The business magazines called her a visionary. Her competitors called her ruthless. She'd earned both titles. Her reflection in the glass showed a woman who'd weaponized elegance. Sharp black suit, dark hair pulled back without a strand out of place, eyes that could read a balance sheet and a person's weaknesses with equal precision. She'd learned early that the world didn't reward softness. It rewarded results. Ms. Hayes, her assistant Marcus Chen appeared in the doorway, tablet in hand, looking as crisp at this hour as he did at dawn. The Tokyo acquisition just closed. Yamamoto signed 10 minutes ago. Expected. Olivia didn't turn from the window. What's the situation with the Chicago facility? Union's backing down. They'll accept the restructuring terms by Monday. They'll accept them by Friday, or we move production to Mexico. Send the memo. Marcus hesitated. It was brief, barely noticeable, but Olivia caught it. She caught everything. Problem? That's 800 jobs, Ms. Hayes. Most of them have been with us for 800 inefficiencies. She turned to face him, and her voice was perfectly level, perfectly cold. We're not a charity, Marcus. We're a business. The numbers don't lie, and they don't care about tenure. He nodded, typing into his tablet. After 3 years as her assistant, he'd learned when to push and when to retreat. Anything else? The quarterly reports need to be on my desk by 6 a.m., and tell security to tighten the overnight protocols. I saw someone on the 32nd floor who shouldn't have been there. I'll look into it. After Marcus left, Olivia returned to her desk. A minimalist slab of carbon fiber that held 3 monitors, a crystal decanter of whiskey she never drank, and a framed photo she rarely looked at. Her father, taken 2 years before the stroke that left him a shell of himself, unable to recognize his own daughter. She'd promised him she'd save the company. Instead, she'd burned it down and rebuilt it as something unrecognizable. He probably wouldn't have approved, but he wasn't here to judge. Her phone buzzed. Richard Voss, her second-in-command and the man who'd helped engineer her rise. She answered without greeting. The Edwards deal is falling apart. Richard's voice was smooth, always smooth, even when delivering bad news. They're getting cold feet about the merger terms. Then warm them up. Remind Edwards what happened to Patterson Industries when they tried to back out of our agreement. Olivia. Richard's tone shifted, became almost paternal. He was 15 years older, had been her father's protege before becoming hers. Patterson went bankrupt. Are you sure you want to? I want Edwards to understand that my patience has limits. Make it clear. She ended the call and stood, gathering her coat. The office felt suddenly suffocating despite its vast space. She did her best thinking while moving, while watching, while maintaining control over her environment. The elevator descended in smooth silence. Olivia watched the floor numbers drop, each one representing a division of her empire. Legal on 42, international operations on 38, R&D on 34, human resources on 28, the department she avoided, staffed by people who seemed to think compassion belonged in a boardroom. The lobby was nearly empty at this hour. A security guard nodded as she passed. The marble floors gleamed, reflecting the sparse lighting. everything in its place, everything as it should be. Then she saw him, the janitor. She'd noticed him before in passing, mid-30s, keeping his head down, pushing his cart with mechanical efficiency. Average height, brown hair that needed cutting, wearing the standard gray maintenance uniform that rendered him practically invisible. She didn't know his name. She'd never needed to. But tonight, something was different. He was standing by the service elevator, looking at his phone with an expression she couldn't quite read. Worry? Fear? His shoulders were tense, his movements quick as he shoved the phone into his pocket. Then he grabbed a backpack from his cart, a large hiking pack that looked heavy, and slung it over his shoulders. Olivia's instincts, honed by years of reading people and situations, activated like a targeted alarm system. Employees didn't leave with heavy backpacks at midnight, not unless they were taking something that didn't belong to them. She stepped back into the shadow of a marble column, watching. The janitor, she'd have Marcus pull his file in the morning, glanced around the lobby with obvious nervousness. He was checking for witnesses. Classic behavior. She'd seen it before in executives trying to hide insider trading, in suppliers cutting corners, and everyone who thought they could steal from her and get away with it. He headed for the exit, moving fast. Olivia followed. She told herself it was due diligence, protecting company assets, making sure her security team wasn't missing threats. But there was something else, something she didn't want to examine, a break in her perfect routine, a problem that needed solving, a mystery that demanded an answer. Outside, the November air bit through her coat. The janitor was half a block ahead, walking with purpose toward the subway station. Olivia kept her distance, blending into the thin crowd of night workers and late commuters. Following people wasn't in her usual skill set, but she was adaptable. She'd built an empire by learning what she needed to know. He didn't take the subway. Instead, he turned onto a side street, then another, moving away from the commercial district into an area Olivia recognized only from crime statistics and urban renewal proposals her company had rejected. The buildings grew shorter, shabbier. Graffiti appeared on walls. The people on the streets looked harder, watching her expensive coat with interest she didn't like. She almost turned back. This was what security teams were for, what private investigators handled. Why was she walking through what was clearly a deteriorating neighborhood at midnight, following a janitor who probably wasn't even stealing anything valuable? But Olivia Hayes didn't start things without finishing them. The janitor stopped at a corner store, one of those bulletproof windowed places that sold lottery tickets and cheap beer. He went inside. Through the streaked glass, Olivia watched him buy something, multiple somethings. His backpack was open on the counter. When he emerged, she ducked behind a parked car, feeling ridiculous. 30-year-old billionaires didn't crouch behind vehicles spying on their employees. But here she was. He walked 3 more blocks, deeper into what her risk assessment team would definitely classify as a bad area. Then he turned into what looked like an abandoned community center, windows dark, door hanging crooked on its hinges, the kind of building the city had given up on. Olivia approached carefully. Up close, she could see faint light escaping through cracks in the boarded windows. Voices, young voices, drifted out. Children? She found a gap in the boards and looked through. The interior was nothing like the exterior suggested. Someone had cleaned it, patched the worst damage, brought in mismatched furniture and industrial lamps powered by a tangle of extension cords. 20, maybe 30 kids sat in clusters, ranging from maybe 6 years old to teenagers. All of them looked poor, wore clothes that didn't fit right, had that particular thinness that came from inconsistent meals, carried themselves with the wariness of children who'd learned the world wasn't safe. And there was the janitor kneeling beside a girl who couldn't have been more than 7, helping her sound out words in a battered picture book. "That's it, Maya. See? The cat sat on the mat. You got it." The girl beamed. "I read it. Mr. Ethan, I read the whole thing." "You did." His voice was warm, completely different from the nervous tension she'd seen in the lobby. "You're getting so good at this. Pretty soon you'll be reading chapter books." Olivia felt something uncomfortable twist in her chest. This wasn't theft. This was Ethan! A teenage boy approached, holding what looked like a math textbook. "I don't understand this problem. About the trains leaving different stations?" "Okay, let's break it down." Ethan, so that was his name, stood and moved to a makeshift blackboard mounted on the wall. If one train leaves Chicago at 60 miles per hour and another train leaves Detroit at 50 miles per hour, he was teaching them. Not just babysitting or entertaining, actually teaching. Olivia's mind, trained to process information and find patterns, started connecting dots she didn't like. The backpack wasn't full of stolen office supplies. It was full of books, food, supplies. He'd bought things at that corner store. She'd seen him, spending his own money. She circled the building, finding another gap to observe from a different angle. In the back section, she could see older kids helping younger ones with homework. A makeshift kitchen area where a woman Olivia didn't recognize was distributing sandwiches. A corner with blankets and pillows where several small children had already fallen asleep. This wasn't a classroom, it was a shelter. "Everyone who hasn't eaten, come get food," the woman called. "Ethan brought sandwiches and fruit. Don't be shy." The kids swarmed the table, but with order, with respect. They'd been taught manners. They waited their turns. They said thank you. Ethan distributed the food, checking in with each child, asking about their day, their families, their problems. He knew all their names, knew which one had asthma and needed to avoid the drafty corner, knew which teenager was studying for a GED, knew which little boy missed his mom who worked night shifts. He moved through the space like someone who'd been doing this a long time. Comfortable. Committed. Olivia's uncomfortable feeling intensified. She was watching something that didn't fit into any category she understood. Charity work by someone who clearly had nothing to spare. Sacrifice without audience or recognition. Care given to people who couldn't offer anything in return. It didn't make sense. She checked her watch. 1:50. She should leave, get back to the tower, forward the janitor's information to security with a note that he was using company time inappropriately, even if he wasn't stealing. But she couldn't make herself move. "Ethan?" A small voice. The girl with the picture book approached him again, and now Olivia could see she was crying. "My mom didn't come home. I'm scared." Ethan knelt again, bringing himself to the child's level. "Hey, it's okay. Sometimes grown-ups have to work late, or they get stuck, or they have things to handle. Your mom loves you. She'll come back." "But what if she doesn't? What if she left like Danny's dad left?" "She didn't. Your mom wouldn't do that." His voice was firm, certain. "Tell you what, you can stay here tonight, safe and warm, and we'll make sure you get home tomorrow. I promise." "You're not alone, Maya. You're never alone here." The girl hugged him, and Olivia saw his expression, pain mixed with determination, like he was fighting something bigger than a child's fear. The woman from the kitchen approached. "Ethan, we're running low on supplies. I hate to ask, but I get paid Friday. I can get more this weekend." "You already brought everything tonight. You can't keep—" "We'll figure it out, Anna. We always do." He stood, looking around at the children with something that looked like both hope and desperation. "These kids need us. That's all that matters." Olivia felt her phone vibrate. Marcus, probably wondering where she was, if she needed the car. She ignored it. She watched for another hour, watched Ethan help a teenager fill out a job application, watched him bandage a scraped knee, watched him read a bedtime story to the youngest ones with a patience that seemed infinite. He never checked his watch, never acted like he had somewhere better to be, never treated these forgotten children like they were anything less than important. Finally, around 2:30, he started gathering his things. "Same time tomorrow?" Anna asked. "Always." Ethan pulled on his coat, shouldered his empty backpack. "Make sure everyone's accounted for before you lock up. And if anyone needs anything urgent, you have my number." "We do. Be careful going home." "I will." Olivia slipped away before he exited, moving back into the shadows. She watched him walk away, shoulders hunched against the cold, looking exhausted. He didn't head toward the subway. Instead, he walked another 6 blocks to a building that made the community center look pristine. Crumbling brick, broken steps, windows covered with cardboard. He lived here, in this, while spending his minimum wage salary on other people's children. Olivia stood in the cold darkness, watching the light come on in what must be his apartment. 3rd floor, corner unit, the kind of place her company's properties division would condemn without a second thought. Her mind was working, processing, analyzing, but for once, the data wasn't forming a clear picture. Instead, she had questions. Dangerous questions. Why would someone do this? What did he get out of it? What was the angle? And why did watching him help those kids make her feel like she'd forgotten something important? She pulled out her phone and texted Marcus. Pull the employee file for the night janitor working tower lobby. Ethan, last name unknown. I want everything. Employment history, background check, financial records if we have them. On my desk by 8 a.m. Then she looked back at the broken building where a man who had nothing was giving everything away. The uncomfortable feeling in her chest had a name now, she realized. One she hadn't felt in years, had trained herself not to feel. Shame. Friday morning arrived with the kind of crisp clarity that Olivia usually appreciated. Everything sharp, everything visible, nothing hidden. She'd gotten 3 hours of sleep, changed into fresh clothes from the wardrobe she kept at the office, and was reviewing contracts when Marcus appeared at 7:45. The file you requested. He placed a folder on her desk, his expression carefully neutral. Though I have to ask, you don't. Olivia opened it without looking up. Thank you. After Marcus left, she read, Ethan Michael Cole, 32 years old, hired 8 months ago through a temp agency, high school education. No college. Previous employment, construction worker, warehouse associate, retail clerk. A string of jobs that spoke of someone constantly struggling. Emergency contact. Lily Cole, daughter, age 7. Daughter. He had a daughter. Olivia flipped through the background check, the standard screening they ran on all employees. Nothing remarkable. No criminal record. A few old addresses, each one in progressively worse neighborhoods. References from previous employers describing him as reliable, quiet, hardworking. There was a photo from his security badge. He looked different than she'd expected. Tired, yes, but his eyes had something in them. Not hope exactly, more like refusal. Refusal to give up, to give in, to let the world break him completely. She almost closed the file. Almost dismissed the whole thing as unusual but not her concern. A janitor doing charity work on his own time wasn't company business. But something made her flip to the last page. The employment application, filled out in careful handwriting. Previous employer, Tecton Manufacturing. Olivia's hand stopped moving. Tecton. She knew that name. Knew it in the way you know something buried that you don't want to examine. She opened her laptop, pulled up her archived business files, searched for Tecton Manufacturing. The results loaded, and the uncomfortable feeling from last night came roaring back as recognition. 5 years ago, Hayes Industries had acquired a component supplier to streamline their production chain. The supplier had exclusive contracts with several smaller manufacturers, including Tecton. When Hayes took over, Olivia had restructured everything, canceling contracts that didn't meet her efficiency standards. Tecton had been one of them. They'd lost their primary contracts, couldn't sustain operations, filed for bankruptcy within 6 months. She remembered Richard presenting her with the numbers, showing her how cutting loose the underperforming suppliers would save them millions annually. She'd signed off without hesitation. It was business. It was smart. She'd never thought about the people who lost jobs when Tecton closed. Olivia pulled up more records, her fingers moving faster now. Tecton had employed 200 people. Most had found other work eventually. Some hadn't. She pulled local news archives, found a story about the closure. There was a photo. Workers leaving the facility for the last time, carrying boxes. In the background, barely visible, a man who looked like a younger version of Ethan Cole. The article mentioned employee interviews. One name stood out, Ethan Cole, assembly line supervisor, married, talking about how he'd worked at Tecton for 6 years, how he didn't know what he'd do now, how his wife was pregnant and they'd just bought a house. Olivia kept reading, following threads she didn't want to follow, finding pieces of a story she definitely didn't want to know. 3 months after Tecton closed, car accident. Jennifer Cole, 29, died at the scene. Driver fell asleep at the wheel after working double shifts at 2 jobs. The article mentioned she left behind a husband and a 3-month-old daughter. Olivia's hands had stopped moving. She stared at the screen, at the photo of a young woman with Ethan's smile, holding an infant wrapped in a pink blanket. His wife. Dead because she was working herself to exhaustion after Tecton closed, after the income disappeared, after Olivia's decision. She closed the laptop, opened it again. The facts didn't change. Her company had destroyed Ethan Cole's life, not directly, not intentionally, but the chain of causation was clear enough. Tecton closes, jobs disappear, families scramble, someone pushes too hard, someone dies. And the man left behind was now scrubbing her office toilets and spending his poverty wages on abandoned children. The intercom buzzed. "Ms. Hayes, your 8:30 is here." She didn't move. Couldn't make herself focus on whatever meeting was scheduled. "Ms. Hayes? Cancel it. Cancel everything this morning." "But the Edwards, I said cancel it." Olivia stood, walked to her window, looked out at the empire she'd built. From here, she couldn't see the broken neighborhoods, the failing schools, the forgotten people. From here, everything looked clean and controlled and successful. She thought about the children in that community center. How many of them were there because of decisions like hers? How many families had been destroyed by efficiencies and restructurings and the cold mathematics of business? Her phone rang. Richard. She let it go to voicemail. She'd built Hayes Industries by being smarter, faster, more ruthless than everyone else, by never letting sentiment cloud judgment, by understanding that you couldn't save everyone, so you saved yourself and let the rest figure it out. But Ethan Cole hadn't figured it out. He'd lost everything: career, wife, stability, and instead of becoming bitter, instead of breaking, he turned around and started saving other people. With nothing, while she had everything. The shame from last night was back, but now it had company, guilt, anger at herself, and something worse, the dawning realization that maybe, just maybe, her perfect logic had a flaw she'd never wanted to see. The intercom buzzed again. "Ms. Hayes, I'm sorry, but Richard is insisting it's urgent." Olivia picked up her phone. "What?" "Good morning to you too." Richard's voice had that tone that meant he was about to present a problem he expected her to solve. "We have a situation." "What kind of situation?" "The kind where I need you to trust me. Meet me in conference room B in 10 minutes. Don't ask questions yet." He hung up before she could respond. Olivia looked at Ethan's file, still open on her desk, at the photo of the man who'd survived what she'd helped create and somehow become better instead of broken. Then she closed the file, straightened her suit, and went to meet Richard. Whatever situation he'd found couldn't possibly be as complicated as the one she'd just discovered. She was wrong. Conference room B was smaller than the main boardroom, designed for discussions that required discretion. Richard was already there when Olivia arrived, along with two people she didn't recognize, a man in an expensive suit that screamed corporate lawyer, and a woman with the efficient appearance of someone from HR. "Close the door," Richard said. Olivia did, her instincts immediately alert. Richard only used this room for problems he wanted contained. "What's going on?" "Sit down first." "I'll stand." "Talk." Richard exchanged a glance with the lawyer, who opened a file folder with the careful movements of someone handling evidence. "Ms. Hayes, we've discovered some irregularities in our facilities management operations." "What kind of irregularities?" "Theft," the HR woman said. Her name tag read Jennifer Marsh. "Multiple instances over the past several months. Small items at first, office supplies, cleaning materials. But it's escalated. Last week, someone accessed the storage room on the 32nd floor and took electronics. Tablets, charging cables, some computer equipment." Olivia's mind immediately went to Ethan, to that heavy backpack, to her assumption last night that he was stealing. But she'd been wrong. She'd seen what was in that backpack. "Do you have proof?" "Security footage." The lawyer, his business card sat on the table, reading Thomas Kemp, senior legal counsel, pulled out a tablet and turned it toward her. "This is from 3 nights ago." The video showed the 32nd floor storage room. The timestamp read 11:47 p.m. The angle captured the door and part of the interior. A figure in maintenance uniform entered, moved through the shelves, and emerged carrying a box. The quality was grainy enough that Olivia couldn't make out facial features, but the uniform was unmistakable. Gray shirt, dark pants. Standard issue for facilities staff. "That could be anyone," Olivia said. "Watch." Kemp fast-forwarded to another clip. Same location, different night. Another figure in the same uniform, this time with a backpack. The person was filling it with something from the shelves. "We have 5 separate incidents over the past month," Jennifer said. Different items each time, but always taken during night shifts when supervision is minimal. Richard leaned forward. Olivia, we've narrowed down the suspects to night shift maintenance staff. There are only 6 people who work those hours with access to secure areas. Something cold was forming in Olivia's stomach. And one of them has a record of financial instability. Multiple late rent payments, defaulted loans, the kind of pressure that makes people do desperate things. Richard pulled out another file. Ethan Cole, janitor, hired 8 months ago. There it was, the trap she could see forming but couldn't yet understand. That's circumstantial, Olivia said carefully. It gets better. Richard's tone had an edge she didn't like. We ran a more thorough background check after flagging him as a suspect. Turns out Cole has connections to some interesting people. His last known address before he moved to his current location? Same building as 3 individuals with criminal records. Drug possession, theft, assault. Living in a bad neighborhood isn't a crime. No, but establishing a pattern of behavior is relevant when building a case. Kemp spoke with the precision of someone who'd done this many times before. We also discovered that Cole has been taking items from the building regularly. Security has noted him leaving with a full backpack on multiple occasions. Olivia felt the pieces clicking into place, felt the narrative being constructed, and she understood with sudden, terrible clarity what was happening. They were framing him. Where's your actual evidence? She asked. Not circumstantial connections. Not security footage of someone who could be anyone. Where's the proof that Ethan Cole specifically took anything? Jennifer shifted uncomfortably. Ms. Hayes, we're following protocol. When there's reasonable suspicion isn't a conviction. It's not even close. Olivia looked at Richard, trying to read what was behind his careful expression. Why are you bringing this to me? We have security teams for this. Police if needed. Because, Richard said slowly, we wanted your approval before moving forward. Cole works directly in executive areas. He has access to sensitive locations. If we're wrong, and word gets out that we accused an employee without sufficient evidence, it could be a PR nightmare. But if we're right and we don't act, we look negligent. So you want me to sign off on firing him? On investigating him properly, searching his locker, his work areas. If we find evidence, then yes, termination and prosecution. Olivia walked to the window. From here, she could see a slice of the city, the morning commuters flooding into office buildings, everyone moving through their carefully constructed lives without knowing how easily those lives could be destroyed. She thought about Ethan teaching children to read, about him spending his own money on sandwiches and books, about him surviving the loss of everything and somehow not becoming the kind of person who stole. No, she said. The room went silent. Excuse me? Richard's voice was carefully controlled. I said no. You don't have sufficient evidence. I'm not authorizing an investigation based on the fact that a man is poor and lives in a bad neighborhood. Olivia. Richard stood, his expression hardening. I understand you want to be cautious, but we have a responsibility to protect company assets. If Cole is stealing, then prove it with actual evidence, not assumptions and circumstantial connections. Jennifer looked between them, clearly uncomfortable. Ms. Hayes, with respect, the security footage shows someone in a uniform. We employ 23 people in facilities management across all shifts. That footage could be any of them. But the access logs, Kemp started, can be checked against all-night shift staff with proper authorization. If you want to investigate everyone with access, not just the one who fits your narrative. Richard's jaw tightened. She knew that look. He was frustrated, probably surprised. She didn't usually push back on his recommendations, especially regarding security matters. Fine, he said. We'll expand the investigation. But Olivia, I need you to trust me on this. I've been doing this kind of work longer than you've been running the company. My instincts are good. Your instincts said Patterson Industries would fold in a year. They're still operating. Barely, and that's beside the point. The point, Olivia said, moving toward the door, is that we don't ruin someone's life without evidence. Expand your investigation if you want, but you bring me proof before you take any action against anyone. Clear? She left before anyone could respond, her heart beating faster than the conversation warranted. In the hallway, she forced herself to breathe normally, to look like nothing was wrong. But everything was wrong. Richard had never been sloppy with investigations. He was meticulous, careful, the kind of person who built airtight cases before moving, which meant either he'd suddenly become careless or this wasn't really about theft at all. She pulled out her phone and texted Marcus. Get me all security footage from the 32nd floor storage room for the past 2 months, and pull the access logs for everyone with authorization. I want it by noon. Then she went back to her office and pulled up Ethan's file again, looking at it with new eyes. 8 months. He'd been working here for 8 months. How long had he been running that community center? How many people knew about it? And more importantly, who would benefit from getting rid of him? Her intercom buzzed. Ms. Hayes, you have the Edwards call in 5 minutes. Right. The merger that Richard said was falling apart. The deal she'd threatened to kill if Edwards didn't comply. She took the call, spent 30 minutes smoothing over concerns and making promises, closed the deal with the efficiency that had built her reputation. But her mind was working on 2 tracks now, the public one that handled business and the private one that was starting to see a pattern she didn't like. When Marcus delivered the security files at 11:45, she spent her lunch hour reviewing them. The footage showed exactly what Kemp had presented, figures in maintenance uniforms accessing the storage room at night, taking items, leaving with full bags or boxes. But Marcus had included something the others hadn't: metadata. The digital fingerprints showing when files were accessed, copied, or modified. Someone had edited these files. Not obviously. The timestamps looked right. The footage flowed naturally. But the underlying code showed gaps, splice points where frames had been removed or rearranged. Olivia felt something cold settle in her chest. The footage was fake, or at least manipulated. She pulled up the access logs next. 23 people had authorization for that storage room. Night shift narrowed it to 6. But the log showed something interesting. Cole's badge had been scanned at the storage room entrance 5 times in the past month, matching the incidents exactly. Too exactly. She picked up her phone, called down to security. This is Hayes. I need the raw badge data for access point S32 for the past 60 days, not the processed logs. The raw data from the scanner itself. Yes, Ms. Hayes. That'll take about an hour to pull from the backup system. I'll wait. While she waited, she did something she almost never did. She left her office and went down to the facilities management area in the basement level. It was a part of the building she'd never visited, where the people who kept everything running worked in spaces that didn't need to impress anyone. The supervisor, a woman named Rita Carson according to her desk nameplate, looked surprised to see her. Ms. Hayes, is there a problem? I need to speak with Ethan Cole. Is he working today? Cole? He's on the night shift. Won't be in until 9. What can you tell me about him? Rita's expression became guarded. Is he in trouble? I'm asking you about his work performance. He's good. Never late, never complains, does his job well. Some of the guys are lazy, but Cole actually cares about doing things right. Rita paused. Why? What's this about? How does he get along with the other staff? Keeps to himself mostly, polite but quiet. Look, Ms. Hayes, if someone said something about Cole, you should know he's not the type to cause problems. He just comes in, does his work, leaves. Has anyone seemed interested in him? Asked questions about him? Rita frowned. That's a weird question. Answer it. There was a guy from upstairs, a couple weeks ago, corporate looking, said he was from HR doing routine evaluations. Asked about the night shift staff, seemed particularly interested in Cole's schedule, his routines, where he went on breaks. Do you remember his name? Didn't give one. Just flashed an ID card and said it was routine. Olivia felt the pieces sliding into place, forming a picture she really didn't like. If he comes back, I want you to notify security immediately, and I want you to contact me directly. She handed Rita a business card with her private number. Do not tell anyone else about this conversation. Ms. Hayes, what's going on? I'm not sure yet, but until I am, I need you to keep this quiet. Back in her office, the raw badge data was waiting. Olivia pulled it up and immediately saw what she'd suspected. The processed logs showed Cole's badge accessing the storage room during the theft times. The raw data showed something different. Cole's badge had been scanned at the storage room, but also at 2 other locations in the building at the exact same timestamps, simultaneously, which was impossible unless someone had cloned his badge. She sat back, staring at the evidence of a frame-up. Someone had copied Cole's access credentials, used them to enter the storage room, and then edited the security footage and access logs to create a narrative that made him look guilty. The question was who and why. Her phone rang. Richard again. "We've found something," he said without preamble. "We got approval to search Cole's locker. You need to see this." "I'm busy." "Olivia, we found stolen property. In his locker. You need to see this now." She hung up and stood, her mind racing. Someone had cloned Cole's badge. Someone had edited security footage. And now, conveniently, stolen property had appeared in his locker. This wasn't an investigation. It was a setup. And Richard was either part of it or being manipulated by whoever was. She took the elevator down, her reflection in the polished doors showing a woman who looked calm and controlled. Inside, she was calculating probabilities, running scenarios, trying to understand what game was being played and why. The facilities area was crowded when she arrived. Richard was there, along with Kemp, Jennifer, 2 security guards, and Rita, who looked upset. "Show me," Olivia said. Richard led her to a row of lockers. One stood open, and inside were 3 tablets, multiple charging cables, and a box of USB drives. "Those are from the storage room inventory," Jennifer said. "Serial numbers match our missing items." "How did you get access to his locker?" Olivia asked. "We have master keys for security purposes." "Who opened it?" Richard stepped forward. "I did, in the presence of witnesses." "Who else has master keys?" "Myself, head of security, and the facilities supervisor." Olivia looked at Rita. "Is this your key?" "It's in my office. I can go check." "Do it! Now!" Rita left. The group stood in uncomfortable silence. Olivia walked around the locker, examining it from different angles. The lock wasn't damaged. No signs of forced entry. Someone had opened it cleanly, placed the items inside, and locked it again. Rita returned, slightly out of breath. "My key's in my desk drawer where I always keep it. But Ms. Hayes, the lock on Cole's locker is broken. Has been for weeks. He mentioned it to me, said it doesn't catch right. Anyone could open it." "Did you report that?" Olivia asked. "Put in a maintenance request, but it's low priority." Olivia turned to Richard. "So anyone could have accessed this locker?" "That doesn't change what's inside it," Richard said. "No, but it changes what it means." She pulled out her phone, took photos of the locker's contents, the broken lock mechanism, the surrounding area. "You're not firing him based on this." "Olivia." Richard's voice dropped low, the tone he used when he was trying to be reasonable. "I know you want to be fair, but the evidence is overwhelming. The badge records, the security footage, now physical evidence in his possession. The badge records show his credentials were cloned. The security footage has been edited. And this locker has a broken lock that anyone could access. That's not evidence. That's a frame." The room went very quiet. "That's a serious accusation," Kemp said carefully. "It's a serious situation." Olivia looked at each person in turn. "Someone is setting Cole up. And until I know who and why, nobody touches him. Nobody speaks to him. Nobody takes any action. Is that clear?" "Ms. Hayes," Jennifer started, "if we have reasonable belief that an employee is stealing, you have reasonable belief that someone wants us to think he's stealing. That's different." She turned to the security guards. "Seal this locker. No one opens it again without my direct authorization, and I want the surveillance footage from this area for the past week." "What are you looking for?" one of the guards asked. "Who's been accessing this area when they shouldn't be?" Richard waited until the others had dispersed before approaching her. His expression was harder than she'd seen in a long time. "What are you doing?" "Stopping a railroad." "You think I'm trying to frame a janitor? Why would I do that?" "I don't know yet, but someone is, and you're either part of it or you're not seeing what's in front of you." "Olivia." He moved closer, lowering his voice. "I've known you since you were 22. I helped your father build this company. I've stood by you through every decision, every fight. Do you really think I'd fabricate evidence against some random employee?" "I think someone would, and right now you're the one pushing hardest to make this stick." His face flushed. "I'm trying to protect this company, which is supposed to be your priority too, or have you forgotten what we're building here?" "I haven't forgotten anything, including the fact that we have a responsibility not to destroy innocent people. Since when do you care about individual employees? You've fired hundreds. restructured departments that put thousands out of work, shut down entire divisions without blinking. But suddenly, one janitor matters? The question hit harder than he probably intended, because he was right. She'd made all those decisions without hesitation, without thinking about the Ethan Coles her choices created. "Maybe I should have cared before," she said quietly. Richard stared at her like she'd grown a second head. "What happened to you? Between yesterday and today, something changed. What was it?" She couldn't tell him about following Ethan, about the community center, about the children and the sacrifice, and the realization that her decisions had created the disaster she'd witnessed. That was private knowledge, gathered through means he'd consider obsessive and inappropriate. "I'm doing my job," she said instead, "protecting company interests, which includes not getting sued for wrongful termination. We have evidence. We have a setup, and I'm going to prove it." She left before he could respond, taking the elevator back up to her office. Her hands were shaking slightly, adrenaline mixing with something that might have been fear. Richard had been her father's right hand, had taught her everything about running a company, had been there for every major decision, every crisis, every triumph. She'd trusted him implicitly, but trust was what made betrayal possible. In her office, she pulled up everything she could find about Richard Voss. His employment history, his financial records, at least what was available to her as CEO, his connections, his recent activities. Nothing obvious jumped out. He was successful, well compensated, had no apparent financial problems that would motivate this kind of setup. His record was clean, his loyalty to the company seemingly unquestionable, which meant either she was wrong about him or he was better at hiding things than she'd realized. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "The surveillance footage from facilities area is on your secure server. Also, something you should know, Richard requested Cole's home address this morning, said it was for the investigation." Olivia's blood went cold. She called Marcus immediately. "Did you give it to him?" "It's in the employee file. He had access." "When did he request it?" 7:15, before your meeting, before they'd supposedly found the items in Cole's locker, which meant Richard had been planning something that required knowing where Cole lived. She checked the time. 3:40. Cole's shift started at 9. She had 5 hours to figure out what was happening and how to stop it. She pulled up the surveillance footage from the facilities area, scrolling through hours of mundane activity, employees coming and going, maintenance work, routine operations. Then, at 2:30 in the morning, 3 days ago, she saw something. A figure in dark clothes, face angled away from cameras, moving through the facilities area with the kind of confidence that suggested they belonged there. The person approached Cole's locker, opened it, the broken lock offering no resistance, and placed something inside. A box. Then closed the locker and left. The angle was wrong for facial identification, but the build was right. The height, the walk. Olivia zoomed in, enhanced the image as much as the software allowed. The person was wearing a watch. Expensive, distinctive. She recognized it because she'd seen it 100 times in meetings. Richard's watch. She sat back, the evidence finally complete. Richard had framed Ethan Cole, had manufactured everything, the badge cloning, the edited footage, the planted evidence, had built an entire case designed to destroy a man who'd already lost everything. But why? She pulled up Richard's recent activities, his calendar, his communications. Most of it was normal business operations. But there were gaps. Meetings marked as private, calls with no notes, times blocked off with no explanation. She dug deeper, accessing financial systems she rarely bothered with. Richard's expense report showed normal business spending, but there was a pattern. Regular payments to a consulting firm she didn't recognize. Small amounts, nothing that would trigger automatic reviews, but consistent, monthly, for the past year. She researched the firm, Vanguard Strategic Consulting. No website, no public presence, just a registered business address in Delaware, a shell company. Richard was moving money through a shell company, which meant he was hiding something. And if he was willing to frame an innocent man, whatever he was hiding was probably worth a lot more than some stolen tablets. Her intercom buzzed. "Ms. Hayes, Richard is asking to see you. Tell him I'm busy. He says it's urgent, about the Cole situation." Olivia's mind raced. Richard knew she'd seen the evidence in the locker. He was probably expecting her to authorize Cole's termination. When she didn't, he'd want to know why. Give me 5 minutes, she said. She copied everything she'd found, the unedited badge data, the surveillance footage showing Richard planting evidence, the financial records showing the shell company payments, onto a secure drive. Then she called her personal lawyer, someone outside the company who owed Richard nothing. David, it's Olivia Hayes. I need you to hold something for me. If anything happens to me or if I don't check in with you by tomorrow morning, I need you to send these files to the SEC and the district attorney's office. Olivia, what's going on? Insurance. Can you do it? Of course, but I'll explain later. Check your secure email in 2 minutes. She sent the files, then composed herself. When Richard walked in, she was reviewing contracts like nothing was wrong. We need to talk, he said, closing the door. About? About whatever is making you sabotage a legitimate investigation. About whatever changed between yesterday and today that's making you protect a thief. I'm protecting the company from a lawsuit. No. Richard sat down across from her, his expression unreadable. You're protecting him, specifically. Why? I don't answer to you. You should answer to logic, to business sense, to the principles you've built this company on. He leaned forward. What did Cole do? Did he get to you somehow? Is he blackmailing you? The accusation was so absurd it almost made her laugh. You think a janitor is blackmailing me? I think something made you suddenly care about an employee you've never spoken to, and that concerns me. Because people who can manipulate you into protecting them can manipulate you into worse. Nobody's manipulating me. I'm doing what's right. Since when do you care about right? You care about effective, about successful, about winning. Richard's voice hardened. That's what I taught you. That's what made you great. Don't let some misplaced sympathy destroy what we've built. What we've built? Olivia repeated the word slowly. Interesting choice. I thought I built this company. You did, with my help, with my guidance, with my protection from the mistakes you'd have made without me. There it was, the subtext she'd never quite noticed before. The implication that she owed him, that without him, she'd be nothing. I appreciate everything you've done, she said carefully, but I'm the CEO. I make the final decisions, and my decision is that we're not moving forward against Cole without better evidence. Better evidence. Richard smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Or any evidence that you'll accept, because I could bring you a signed confession and you'd find a reason to dismiss it. Probably, since I know it would be as fake as everything else you've manufactured. The room temperature seemed to drop. Richard stood slowly. That's a dangerous accusation. It's a provable fact. I have the real badge data, the unedited security footage, and video of you planting evidence in Cole's locker. His expression didn't change, which told her everything. He'd known she'd figure it out eventually. He'd probably planned for it. Why? She asked. Why frame him? What did he do to you? He didn't do anything to me. He's nobody. A piece of collateral damage in a much bigger situation. What situation? Richard walked to the window, looking out at the city. You built this company into something extraordinary, but you also made enemies. Powerful people who don't like how fast you're growing, how much market share you're taking. They want you distracted. They want you vulnerable. And framing a janitor accomplishes that how? It doesn't, but it starts the process. First the theft investigation. Then the wrongful termination lawsuit when you fire him. Then the media coverage of how Hayes Industries treats its working-class employees. Then the labor board investigations. Then the union drives at all our facilities. Death by 1,000 cuts, each one designed to slow you down while your competitors catch up. Olivia felt cold understanding settle over her. Someone paid you to do this. Someone paid me to protect company interests. Sometimes that means making hard choices. Destroying an innocent man isn't a hard choice. It's a crime. It's strategy, something you used to understand. I still understand strategy. What I don't understand is betrayal. Richard turned back to her. This isn't betrayal. This is me trying to save you from yourself. You're going soft, Olivia, letting emotions cloud your judgment. That's how CEOs lose their companies. Is that what happened to my father? Did he go soft? Is that why you were so eager to help me take over when he had his stroke? Something flickered in Richard's eyes. Your father was a good man, but a weak businessman. He couldn't make the difficult decisions. That's why the company was failing. Or maybe someone was sabotaging him, making him look weak, setting him up to fail so his daughter would have to take over. His daughter, who trusted her father's right-hand man completely. You're being paranoid. Am I? Because suddenly, I'm wondering how many of my decisions were actually mine. How many times you've manipulated situations to get the outcome you wanted. How much of my success is real and how much is you pulling strings. Everything you've achieved is real. I just helped you see the possibilities. By destroying people who got in the way, by framing innocent employees, by taking money from our competitors to sabotage our own company. I take money from people who understand that information has value, and I provide them with insights that help them make better decisions. That's not sabotage, that's business intelligence. It's corporate espionage. It's fraud. It's about 6 different kinds of illegal. Richard smiled. Prove it. With your company lawyers who I've worked with for 15 years? With your board members who I helped select? With your executive team who trust my judgment? You think anyone's going to believe you over me? He was right, and they both knew it. He'd positioned himself perfectly, built relationships with everyone who mattered, made himself indispensable. Why are you telling me this? Olivia asked. Why admit it? Because you need to understand the reality of the situation. You have evidence, yes, but if you use it, you destroy the company. The SEC investigation alone would tank our stock. The criminal charges would void our government contracts. The publicity would drive away investors. Everything we've built would collapse. Everything you've corrupted. Everything I've protected. Richard moved toward the door. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to authorize Cole's termination. You're going to let the theft investigation conclude quietly. And you're going to forget about this conversation. In return, I'll make sure our competitors don't escalate their attacks. I'll keep protecting the company. And you get to keep being CEO of a successful empire instead of the defendant in a dozen lawsuits. And if I refuse, then I'll be forced to take steps I'd prefer to avoid, starting with making sure Cole doesn't just lose his job. He loses everything. His home, his daughter, his freedom. Because if you won't play along, I'll make sure he takes the fall for a lot more than some stolen electronics. Olivia felt rage surge through her, cold and focused. You're threatening to hurt a child to manipulate me? I'm explaining consequences. You protect Cole. You put his daughter at risk. You let this go. Everyone walks away clean. Richard opened the door. Think about it. You have until his shift starts at 9. After that, decisions get made whether you like them or not. He left, closing the door quietly behind him. Olivia stood frozen, her mind racing through options. She had evidence of Richard's crimes. But he was right about the damage using it would cause. The company would survive, probably, but thousands of employees would suffer through the chaos. And he'd threatened Lily, a 7-year-old girl who'd already lost her mother. She thought about calling the police, the FBI, the SEC. But legal processes took time. Time Richard could use to destroy evidence, hurt people, disappear. She thought about warning Ethan, telling him to take his daughter and run. But running meant giving up everything he'd built, the community he served, the life he'd somehow managed to create from ruins. She looked at the clock. 4:30. 4.5 hours until Ethan's shift started. 4.5 hours to find a solution that didn't end with more innocent people getting hurt. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then, on instinct, she did. Ms. Hayes? A woman's voice, unfamiliar. This is Anna Chen. I work with Ethan Cole at the community center. Olivia's heart started racing. How did you get this number? Ethan gave it to me. Well, not directly. He keeps an emergency contact list in case something happens to him. Your office number is on it. Why would I be on his emergency contact list? I don't know, but I need to talk to you. It's about Ethan. Something's wrong. Olivia's grip tightened on the phone. What do you mean something's wrong? Can we meet? I don't want to talk about this over the phone. Anna's voice was tight with worry. Please, it's important. Where are you? The community center, Millbrook Street. Can you come now? Olivia checked the time again, 4:35. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She grabbed her coat and headed for the elevator, texting her driver as she walked. Marcus appeared from his desk, concern on his face. Ms. Hayes, you're 5 o'clock with the investors. Cancel it. Cancel everything for the rest of the day. Is everything all right? She looked at him, this assistant who'd worked for her loyally for 3 years, who'd never questioned her decisions, who'd helped her build this empire one meeting at a time. Marcus, if something happens to me, if I don't come back or if Richard tries to lock me out of my systems, I need you to send a file to David Brennan, my personal attorney. Can you do that? His expression shifted from concern to alarm. Ms. Hayes, what's going on? Insurance, that's all. But I need to know you'll do it. Of course, but no questions, not yet. Just be ready. The drive to Millbrook took 30 minutes through rush hour traffic. Olivia watched the city transform outside her window, the clean corporate towers giving way to older buildings, then to the kind of neighborhood where people didn't look at expensive cars with admiration, but with calculation. The community center looked even more decrepit in daylight. Graffiti covered the lower walls. The windows were still boarded. A group of teenagers smoking on the corner watched her car pull up with interest that wasn't friendly. Her driver, Miguel, turned to look at her. Ms. Hayes, are you sure about this? Stay with the car. Keep the doors locked. If I'm not back in 30 minutes, call this number. She handed him a card with David's information. What should I tell him? That I'm at this address and I might need help. Miguel's expression showed he wanted to argue, but he'd worked for her long enough to know when to listen. 30 minutes. Olivia got out feeling exposed in her designer coat and heels. The teenagers watched her approach the building, one of them saying something that made the others laugh. She ignored them and pushed through the crooked door. Inside, the space looked different than it had at night. Daylight filtering through the boards showed the extent of the damage this place had survived. Water stains on the ceiling, cracks in the walls, floor tiles missing in patches. But it also showed the care someone had taken. The furniture was clean. The books on makeshift shelves were organized. Children's artwork covered one wall, bright and hopeful against the decay. Anna Chen was waiting near the front, a woman in her 40s with tired eyes and quick hands that never stopped moving. Ms. Hayes, thank you for coming. You said something was wrong with Ethan. Not with him exactly, but he's in danger. Someone's been asking about him, asking the wrong kind of questions. Olivia felt her stomach drop. What kind of questions? About his schedule, about Lily, about where he goes, what he does. Anna led her deeper into the center, to a small office that was really just a closet with a desk. A man came by 3 days ago, said he was from social services doing a routine check on the center, but we're not registered with social services. We're not registered with anyone. Ethan keeps everything unofficial so nobody shuts us down. What did this man look like? 50s, maybe? Expensive suit, silver hair. He had this way of smiling that didn't match his eyes. Richard, or someone working for him. What did he want to know? Everything. How long Ethan's been running this place? How many kids come through? Whether Ethan ever seems unstable or aggressive? Whether we've ever had concerns about his daughter's safety? Anna's voice shook. Ms. Hayes, I've known Ethan for 2 years. He's the most stable person I've ever met. After everything he's been through, he still shows up for these kids every single night. But this man, he was trying to make it sound like Ethan was dangerous. Did you tell him anything? I told him to leave. Said if he was really from social services, he'd have proper identification and wouldn't be asking questions like that. He left, but not before he said something that scared me. What? He said, some people can't be helped. They're better off when you stop letting them drag others down. Then he looked at all the kids here and said, you should think about what's best for them. Olivia felt rage building again, colder than before. Richard wasn't just threatening to hurt Ethan. He was building a narrative that would let him destroy Ethan's entire world while making it look justified. Has Ethan noticed anything strange? Anyone following him? I don't know. He's been more stressed lately, but I thought it was just money trouble. He's been working extra hours trying to save up for something. Anna pulled out her phone, showed Olivia a photo. This is from yesterday. Look at the background. The photo showed Ethan with a group of kids, all of them grinning at the camera. But behind them, barely visible through a gap in the boarded windows, was a figure. Someone watching from outside. I didn't notice until I looked at the pictures this morning, Anna said. But when I checked older photos, he's in those too. Different places, different times. Someone's been watching this place for at least a week. Olivia zoomed in on the figure. Male, average build, face angled away from the camera. professional surveillance technique. Anna, I need you to listen very carefully. Ethan's in serious trouble, but not the kind you think. Someone's trying to frame him for crimes he didn't commit, and they're willing to hurt him and Lily to make it stick. Anna's face went pale. What kind of crimes? Theft from my company. They've manufactured evidence, set him up to take the fall, but it's bigger than that. It's about hurting me through him. Through Ethan? Why? You're his boss, but it's complicated. But right now, I need to know where Lily is. She's at after-school care. Ethan picks her up at 6:30, brings her here while he gets ready for his shift. Why? Because if someone wants to pressure Ethan, his daughter is the obvious leverage. Olivia checked her phone. 4:50. What's the address of the after-school program? Millbrook Elementary, about 6 blocks from here. But they don't release kids to anyone not on the approved list. Ethan's really careful about that. Has he updated the list recently? I don't think so. He doesn't really trust anyone with her except me, and I'm already on it. Olivia called David, her attorney. He answered on the first ring. Olivia, I got your files. What the hell is going on? No time to explain. I need you to do something for me. Call Millbrook Elementary School. Speak to whoever runs their after-school program. Tell them that under no circumstances should they release Lily Cole to anyone except her father. Say you're calling on behalf of her guardian's legal counsel and there's a custody dispute. Is there a custody dispute? There will be if I'm right. Just make the call. Now. Done. Anything else? If you don't hear from me by 7 tonight, go to the police with everything I sent you. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Just do it. She hung up before he could ask more questions. Anna was staring at her. Ms. Hayes, you need to tell me what's happening. These kids, this place, it's all we have. If something happens to Ethan, nothing's going to happen to him. I'm not going to let it. The words came out with more confidence than Olivia felt. But I need you to help me. Can you get in touch with Ethan right now? He's sleeping. He works nights, so he sleeps during the day, but I have his apartment key for emergencies. This is an emergency. We need to wake him up and tell him what's happening before he walks into work tonight. They took Olivia's car, Miguel looking deeply uncomfortable as Anna directed them to Ethan's building. Up close, it was worse than Olivia remembered from that first night. The front door hung on broken hinges. The stairwell smelled like urine and mold, trash piled up in corners that no one bothered to clean. Anna led the way up 3 flights of stairs. He's been trying to move, save up for somewhere better. But rent keeps going up, and the good landlords don't want to rent to single fathers with spotty employment history. How long has he been here? 3 years. Since right after Jennifer died. Anna knocked on a door marked 3C. Ethan? It's Anna. I know you're sleeping, but we need to talk. No answer. Anna knocked again, louder. Ethan, please. It's important. Still nothing. Maybe he's out? Olivia suggested. He's never out during the day. He can't afford to be. Every hour he's not sleeping is an hour he'll be exhausted tonight. Anna pulled out a key, unlocked the door. Ethan? I'm coming in. Don't be mad. The apartment was small, maybe 400 square feet total. Kitchen, living area, and bedroom all visible from the entrance. Clean despite the building's condition. A battered couch, a table with mismatched chairs, shelves made from cinder blocks and boards holding more books. Children's drawings on the walls, a small desk with homework papers, a corner filled with stuffed animals that were worn but loved. No Ethan. His bed's made, Anna said, confusion in her voice. He never makes his bed during the day. Says it's a waste of time when he's just going to mess it up again. Olivia walked through the small space, her trained eye cataloging details. Coffee cup in the sink, still slightly warm. Ethan's work boots by the door, his keys on the hook. His keys are here, she said. He didn't leave. Then where is he? A sound from the bedroom closet. Subtle, barely there, like someone trying not to breathe. Olivia moved toward it. Anna grabbed her arm. Wait, maybe we should... Olivia opened the closet door. A little girl stared up at her from the floor, arms wrapped around her knees, tears streaming down her face. 7 years old, with her father's eyes, an expression of pure terror. Lily? Anna rushed forward. Sweetheart, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be at after school. The girl didn't answer, just shook her head frantically. Olivia knelt down, making herself smaller, less threatening. Lily, my name is Olivia. I'm a friend of your dad's. Can you tell us what happened? I'm not supposed to talk to strangers. Her voice was tiny, breaking. That's a good rule. But Anna's here, and you know her, right? Lily looked at Anna, who nodded. It's okay, sweetie. You can talk to us. They took Daddy. The words hit Olivia like a physical blow. Who took him? Bad men. They came here when I got home from school. Daddy picked me up early, said we needed to stay home today, that something was wrong. Then they knocked on the door and Daddy looked through the peeker hole and his face got really scared. He told me to hide in the closet and not come out no matter what. So I hid. What happened then? Anna's voice was gentle, but Olivia could hear the panic underneath. They broke the door. Daddy tried to fight, but there were too many. They hit him and he fell down. Then one of them said, "Bring him," and they dragged him out. I heard their footsteps on the stairs, and then it got quiet. I've been hiding since then. I didn't know what to do. Olivia checked her watch, 5:15. Lily, what time did they take your dad? I don't know, after lunch sometime. The clock said 2:30 when I checked. 3 hours ago. Richard had moved faster than she'd anticipated. Sweetheart, did they say anything else? Anything about where they were taking him? Lily shook her head, then stopped. Wait, one of them was on the phone. He said something about the warehouse on Porter Street and holding him until the boss says what to do. Porter Street. Olivia knew it. Industrial area on the edge of Millbrook, mostly abandoned buildings that developers had been trying to buy for years. Hayes Industries had looked at properties there once, but Richard had said they weren't worth the investment. Richard, who apparently kept warehouses for kidnapping employees. Anna, stay with Lily. Don't leave this apartment. Don't open the door for anyone except me or the police. You're going after him? Anna stood, blocking the doorway. Ms. Hayes, if these are the kind of people who'd kidnap someone in broad daylight, you can't just walk in there. I'm not planning to walk. I'm planning to end this. By yourself? You need to call the police. And tell them what? That my COO kidnapped my janitor as part of a corporate conspiracy? They'll waste hours verifying the story while Ethan bleeds out somewhere. Then take Miguel. Take someone. Olivia looked at Lily, this child who'd already lost her mother, now hiding in a closet while her father disappeared. The child Richard had threatened to hurt if Olivia didn't comply. She thought about all the decisions she'd made over the years, the ruthless choices, the calculated risks, the people she'd sacrificed for efficiency and profit. She'd told herself it was just business, that emotions didn't belong in boardrooms, that winners couldn't afford to care about casualties. But Ethan Cole wasn't a casualty. He was a human being who'd survived her decisions once and built something beautiful from the wreckage. And she'd be damned if she let Richard turn him into collateral damage again. I'm taking Miguel, she said. But Anna, if I'm not back in 2 hours, you call 911. Tell them everything. Tell them about the kidnapping, about Richard Voss, about the warehouse. Then call David Brennan. She handed Anna a business card. He'll know what to do. Downstairs, Miguel was exactly where she'd left him, alert and worried. Miguel, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. How much combat experience do you have? He blinked. Ma'am? I know you're former military, Marines, right? I saw it in your background check when we hired you. So I'm asking, if we walk into a dangerous situation, can you handle yourself? Miguel's expression shifted, became harder. What kind of situation? The kind where someone I care about has been taken by people who want to hurt him. The kind where I'm going to get him back, whether it's safe or not. You're talking about that janitor, Cole. How did you? I pay attention, Ms. Hayes. I've been driving you for 2 years. I notice when you do things that don't fit your pattern, like following an employee into a bad neighborhood at midnight, like coming to this building today. He paused. You care about him. I care about not letting innocent people die because of my mistakes. Same thing, different words. Miguel opened the glove compartment, pulled out something that made Olivia's breath catch. A gun. I've got 2 tours in Afghanistan and 3 years doing private security before this job. Yeah, I can handle myself. Question is, can you? I'm about to find out. Porter Street, industrial area. We need to find a warehouse where someone's holding Ethan Cole. Miguel started the car. You know this is crazy, right? You should call the police. The police take time we don't have. Then we do this smart. No heroics. We get eyes on the situation, assess the threat, make a plan. Agreed. They drove in silence, the city changing again outside the windows. Olivia used the time to text Marcus with coded instructions, setting up triggers that would activate if she didn't check in. She texted David with an update. She even pulled up Richard's number, her finger hovering over the call button. What would she say? That she was coming for Ethan? That she knew what Richard had done? That she wasn't going to play his game anymore? She deleted the draft message unsent. Porter Street was exactly as bleak as she remembered from the site surveys. Abandoned factories with broken windows, warehouses with rusted doors, empty lots filled with debris. A few structures showed signs of recent use: security fencing, functional locks, vehicles parked nearby. There. Miguel pointed to a warehouse at the end of the street. Two black SUVs parked outside, windows tinted, the kind of vehicles that screamed professional operation. That's not a homeless encampment or a squatter situation. That's organized. They parked 2 blocks away, approached on foot. The sun was setting, throwing long shadows that gave them cover. Miguel moved like someone who'd done this before, using buildings and vehicles for concealment, checking sight lines, assessing angles. 2 guards outside that I can see, he whispered. Probably more inside. They're armed, professional stance. This isn't some gang operation. These are trained security. Richard hired them, probably through that shell company he's been running. Miguel gave her a sharp look. Your COO is running a shell company and hiring mercenaries? Ms. Hayes, what the hell have you gotten into? Corporate espionage, fraud, conspiracy, take your pick. Olivia peered around a concrete pillar, studying the warehouse. Single entrance visible from this angle. Windows too high to access without equipment. The building was probably 70 years old, industrial construction built to last. We need a distraction, Miguel said. Something to pull the outside guards away from the entrance. Then we can slip in, locate Cole, extract him before they know what's happening. Or we could try the direct approach. The direct approach gets us shot. Not if they're expecting me. Olivia pulled out her phone, took a breath, and called Richard. He answered immediately. Olivia, I was wondering when you'd figure it out. Where is he? Who? Don't play games. Ethan Cole. Your people took him 3 hours ago. Where is he? I have no idea what you're talking about, though I heard there was an incident in Millbrook. Domestic dispute, someone said. Very tragic. These poor neighborhoods, the violence is terrible. This isn't a domestic dispute. This is kidnapping, federal crime. And when this is over, you're going to prison. Richard laughed, genuinely amused. Prison? Right. With what evidence? The files you sent to your lawyer? The ones showing edited security footage and financial irregularities? I have explanations for all of it, Olivia. Reasonable, documented explanations that will make you look paranoid at best, criminally negligent at worst. I know where you're holding him. Porter Street warehouse. I'm 2 blocks away right now. Silence. Then Richard's voice, harder than before. You're bluffing. Am I? Your security team is driving black SUVs, license plates ending in 743 and 892. 2 guards outside, probably 4 more inside. Want me to keep going? If you're really there, you're stupider than I thought. Turn around, go home. Forget about Cole. Not happening. Then you'll force me to make this situation worse than it needs to be. I was planning to have a conversation with Cole, explain his options, convince him to take the fall for the theft charges and disappear quietly. But if you're going to be difficult, I'll have to consider more permanent solutions. Olivia felt ice in her veins. You're threatening to kill him. I'm explaining consequences. You walk away, Cole gets roughed up a bit and scared into leaving town. You interfere, people start dying. Your choice. Here's my choice. You have 5 minutes to release Ethan unharmed and turn yourself in. After that, I'm coming in. And when I do, everything you've built, every connection you've made, every dollar you've stolen, it all disappears. I'll make sure of it. With what leverage? You think anyone will believe you over me? I think the FBI will be very interested in Vanguard Strategic Consulting. I think the SEC will love analyzing your offshore accounts. And I think your corporate espionage clients will be extremely unhappy when their names become public record. She paused. I've spent the last hour sending files to every regulatory agency, every news outlet, Every competitor who'd love to see you burn. Right now, they're sitting in scheduled emails. If I don't cancel them in the next hour, they send automatically. More silence. Longer this time. You're destroying the company to save a janitor. I'm destroying a corrupt system to save an innocent man. Big difference. There's no such thing as an innocent man, Olivia. Everyone's dirty. Everyone compromises. That's how the world works. Maybe your world. Not mine. Not anymore. You'll regret this. Probably, but I'll regret it less than I'd regret letting you win. She hung up. Miguel was staring at her. Did you really send files to the FBI? Not yet, but I will if we're not out of here in an hour. She checked her phone, started composing emails with the evidence files attached, scheduled them to send at 7 o'clock. Now we wait and see if Richard's smart enough to cut his losses. They didn't have to wait long. The warehouse door opened. 2 men emerged, dragging someone between them. Even from a distance, Olivia could see the blood, the way his legs weren't supporting his weight properly. Ethan. They dropped him on the ground outside the door. One of them kicked him, hard, in the ribs. Ethan curled up but didn't cry out. Didn't give them the satisfaction. Boss says you're free to go, one of the men said, loud enough that his voice carried. But if you're smart, you'll disappear. Leave town. Change your name, because if we see you again, it won't end this nicely. They went back inside. The SUVs started up, pulled away. Within minutes, the street was empty except for Ethan, lying motionless on the concrete. Olivia started forward. Miguel grabbed her arm. Wait, this could be a trap. They leave him as bait, see who comes for him. I don't care. She ran to Ethan, Miguel cursing behind her but following anyway. Up close, the damage was worse. His face was swollen, already bruising. His lip was split. Blood matted his hair. His breathing was shallow, pained. Ethan, she knelt beside him. Ethan, can you hear me? His eyes opened, unfocused. He tried to speak, coughed instead, blood on his lips. Don't talk. Miguel, help me get him to the car. They lifted him as carefully as they could, but he still groaned. Broken ribs, probably. Maybe worse. Miguel got him into the back seat while Olivia climbed in beside him, supporting his head. Hospital, Miguel said, already driving. No. Ethan's voice was barely a whisper. Can't afford hospital, and they'll call police. Questions. You need medical attention. I need my daughter. Where's Lily? She's safe. Anna's with her at your apartment. Relief flooded his battered face. They said they'd hurt her. If I didn't sign papers. Confession. Theft. You didn't sign anything. Told them to go to hell. He tried to smile, winced. Not smart, but couldn't let them win. Olivia felt something break inside her chest. This man, beaten and bleeding, had refused to confess to crimes he didn't commit because he wouldn't let them win. While she'd built an empire by making the smart play, the safe choice, the calculated decision. You're going to the hospital, she said firmly. I'll pay for it. I'll handle the questions. You're not dying because you can't afford medical care. Why? Ethan's eyes focused on her, really seeing her for the first time. Why do you care? I'm just janitor. Nobody. You're not nobody, and this is my fault. All of it. My company destroyed Tecton. My decisions cost you your wife. And now my COO almost killed you, so I'm going to fix it. Can't fix the past. No, but I can fix the present. She looked at Miguel. Memorial Hospital. Emergency entrance. Fast. They made it in 12 minutes. Hospital staff swarmed the car, loading Ethan onto a gurney, asking questions Olivia answered with authority she didn't really have. Yes, she was family. Yes, she'd cover all costs. No, they didn't need to contact anyone else. A nurse pulled her aside while they wheeled Ethan into treatment. Ma'am, are you his wife? No, employer. Then I need you to fill out whatever paperwork you need. I'll complete it. Right now, I need you to make sure he survives. Money is not an issue. Use whatever resources necessary. The nurse's expression shifted, recognizing the tone of someone who expected to be obeyed. We'll take good care of him. Olivia found a chair in the waiting room, suddenly exhausted. Miguel sat beside her, his gun back in its holster but still alert. "That was the stupidest thing I've ever been part of," he said. "And I've done a lot of stupid things. Thank you for coming anyway. You pay me to drive you places. Figured this counted." He paused. "For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing." The right thing would have been preventing this in the first place. Can't change the past, can only choose what you do next. Ethan had said almost the same thing. Olivia pulled out her phone, canceled the scheduled emails to the FBI and SEC. Then she opened a new message to Richard. "Cole is in the hospital. If he dies, the emails send anyway. If anything happens to his daughter, they send. If you come near either of them again, they send. You have 24 hours to resign and disappear. After that, I'm done playing nice." She hit send, then turned her phone off. A doctor appeared an hour later, looking tired but professional. "Miss Hayes, Mr. Cole is stable. 3 broken ribs, concussion, various contusions and lacerations. We're keeping him overnight for observation, but he should make a full recovery." "Can I see him?" "He's asking for his daughter." "I'll bring her." Olivia called Anna, explained the situation in broad terms, arranged for Miguel to pick up Lily and bring her to the hospital. While she waited, she thought about everything that had led to this moment. The decisions made years ago without considering consequences. The ruthless efficiency that had seemed so virtuous when it was making her rich. The people ground up in the machinery of her success. People like Ethan, who'd lost everything so she could gain more. She'd always thought she was building something important, creating value, providing jobs, driving innovation. But sitting in this hospital waiting room, waiting to see if a man would survive being beaten because she'd made her COO angry, she wondered if she'd been building anything at all, or just breaking things in more elaborate ways. Lily arrived with Miguel, her small hand gripping Anna's. When she saw Olivia, she stopped. "You're the lady from Daddy's closet." "I am." "Your dad's okay. He's hurt, but he's okay. Do you want to see him?" Lily nodded, tears starting again. They walked together to Ethan's room, Anna and Miguel staying back to give them space. Ethan was propped up in the hospital bed, bandaged and bruised, but conscious. When he saw Lily, his face transformed despite the pain. "Hey, kiddo." "Daddy!" Lily ran to him, stopped at the last second, afraid to hurt him. "You're bleeding." "Just a little, but I'm okay. Promise." He held out his hand and she took it carefully. "Did you do what I said? Did you hide?" "I hid until Anna and the lady came." "I was so scared." "I know, I'm sorry, but you were so brave. I'm proud of you." Lily started crying in earnest then, and Olivia felt like she was intruding on something private. She turned to leave. "Wait!" Ethan's voice stopped her. "Ms. Hayes, thank you for finding me, for bringing her here, for—" He trailed off, struggling with words. "Don't thank me. This happened because of me." "No, it happened because some people are corrupt. You just worked at the same company. I built that company. I chose the people who run it. I created the culture that made this possible. Then you get to choose what comes next." Ethan looked at his daughter, at the hospital room, at the life he'd barely managed to hold together. "You get to decide who you want to be. Past doesn't have to dictate future." Olivia wanted to believe that, wanted to think she could fix what she'd broken, undo the damage, become someone different. But standing there, watching a father comfort his daughter after being beaten half to death because of choices Olivia had made years ago, she wasn't sure redemption was something she deserved. "Get some rest," she said. "Both of you. I'll make sure you're safe." Outside, she found Anna pacing in the hallway. "Miss Hayes, what happens now? They took Ethan. They could come back. They won't." "I made sure of it." "How?" "By making it more expensive to hurt him than to leave him alone." Olivia pulled out her phone, turned it back on, saw 3 missed calls from Richard. She ignored them. "Anna, I need you to do something for me. I need you to document everything about the community center, every child who comes through, every program Ethan runs, every dollar spent. Can you do that?" "Why?" "Because I'm going to make sure it's properly funded. No more scraping by. No more depending on Ethan's minimum wage. Real resources, real support, real legitimacy." Anna stared at her. "You're serious?" "Completely. Why would you do that?" Because Ethan shouldn't have to choose between feeding himself and feeding those kids. Because this company has taken enough from him. It's time we gave something back. She left before Anna could ask more questions, before she had to explain that this wasn't altruism, it was penance. Before she had to admit that no amount of money would fix what she'd broken, but at least it would stop breaking new things. Miguel drove her back to Hayes Tower. It was after 8, the building still lit up, still humming with activity, still broadcasting its message of success and power to the city below. Olivia looked up at it and felt nothing but tired. Miguel, tomorrow I'm going to need you for something important. What's that? Picking up the pieces of whatever happens when I burn my life down. He didn't ask what she meant, just nodded. I'll be ready. In her office, Marcus had left files stacked neatly on her desk. The Edwards merger had closed. The Tokyo acquisition was moving forward. Quarterly projections showed record growth. Everything was succeeding, and none of it mattered. Olivia sat at her desk, opened her laptop, and started typing an email to the board of directors. She didn't know exactly what she was going to say yet, but she knew it started with, "I need to tell you about Richard Voss," and ended with her watching everything she'd built either transform or collapse. Either way, tomorrow was going to be different. Either way, she couldn't go back to who she'd been yesterday. The woman who didn't ask questions, who didn't look too closely at consequences, who measured success by numbers instead of by the people those numbers represented. That woman had followed a janitor into the dark and discovered the cost of her empire, and she couldn't live with that cost anymore. The email sat on her screen, cursor blinking in the silence of her office. 3 paragraphs detailing Richard's crimes, 4 attachments containing evidence, and 1 simple conclusion. She was recommending his immediate termination and referral to federal authorities. Olivia's finger hovered over the send button. Her phone rang. David Brennan, her attorney. "Tell me you're not doing what I think you're doing," he said without greeting. "How do you know what I'm doing?" "Because I've been your lawyer for 5 years and I know how you think. You're about to send something to the board that's going to blow up the company. Don't." "Richard kidnapped an employee, David. Had him beaten. Threatened a child. I can't just—" "You absolutely can just. Listen to me very carefully. If you send that email tonight, in your current emotional state, without proper legal strategy, you're going to create a catastrophe. The board will panic. Investors will dump stock. Competitors will circle like sharks. Everything you've built will be vulnerable. Everything I've built is already corrupt." "Maybe, but destroying it in one impulsive move doesn't fix that. It just creates chaos that hurts everyone, including the people you're trying to protect." David's voice softened slightly. "I know you want justice. I know you're angry, but think tactically. If you want Richard to actually face consequences instead of just disappearing with a golden parachute, you need to do this right." Olivia closed her laptop. "What's the right way?" "First, you sleep. You've been running on adrenaline for 18 hours, and you're about to make decisions that affect thousands of people. Sleep, clear your head, then call me in the morning. We'll build a case that actually sticks instead of one that falls apart under scrutiny. And in the meantime, Richard gets to walk around free? In the meantime, Richard thinks he's won, which makes him sloppy, which gives us opportunity." David paused. "Trust me, Olivia. I want him to burn as much as you do, but let's make sure we light the right fire." She hung up, stared at her dark laptop screen. Her reflection looked back at her, pale and exhausted. When was the last time she'd eaten? Slept properly? Felt anything other than anger or shame? Marcus knocked softly, pushed the door open. "Ms. Hayes, I'm heading out. Is there anything you need?" "Go home, Marcus. Get some rest." "Are you going home?" "Eventually." He hesitated in the doorway. "Ms. Hayes, whatever's happening, whatever you're dealing with, I want you to know I'm with you. If you need anything, anything at all, you just have to ask." The loyalty in his voice made her throat tight. How many people had she inspired that kind of loyalty from? And how many of them had she actually deserved? "Thank you, Marcus. That means more than you know." After he left, Olivia sat in the silence of her office, looking out at the city that never really slept. Somewhere out there, Ethan was recovering in a hospital bed. Lily was probably curled up beside him, refusing to let him out of her sight. Anna was likely worrying about the center, about the kids, about what came next. And Richard was probably planning his next move, figuring out how to contain the damage, calculating his exit strategy. Olivia pulled out her phone, scrolled through her contacts until she found a name she hadn't called in 3 years. Jonathan Price, investigative journalist for the Tribune. They'd met during a conference, had maintained a professional friendship built on mutual respect and wariness. She typed out a message. I have a story for you. Corporate fraud, kidnapping, conspiracy. But I need time to build the case properly. Are you interested? His response came within minutes. Always interested. How solid is your evidence? Solid enough to put people in prison, but I need a week to make it airtight. I can wait a week. But Olivia, if you're burning bridges, make sure you know which side of the river you want to be on when they collapse. I'm working on it. She pocketed her phone, gathered her coat, and finally left the office. The lobby was empty except for a security guard she didn't recognize. Young, maybe 25, looking bored. Working late, Ms. Hayes? Something like that. Quiet night? Always is on Fridays. Everyone wants to get home for the weekend. He smiled. Though I guess when you're the boss, every night is a work night, huh? Sometimes. She paused at the door. Do you like working here? The question clearly surprised him. It's a good job. Pays well. Better than most security gigs. But do you like it? Do you feel like you're doing something that matters? He shifted uncomfortably, probably wondering if this was some kind of test. I mean, I'm making sure the building is safe. That matters to the people who work here. Right, of course. Olivia started to leave, then turned back. What's your name? Jackson. Jackson Porter. Well, Jackson Porter, I hope you have a good weekend. She could feel his confused stare following her out. Miguel was waiting with the car. He took one look at her face and said, Hospital or home? Hospital. I need to check on something. They drove through streets that were transitioning from business districts to neighborhoods, from wealth to poverty, from the world Olivia lived in to the one Ethan survived. The hospital was in between, serving everyone regardless of insurance or status, overwhelmed and underfunded, but still standing. The night nurse at the desk recognized her. Mr. Cole is resting. His daughter, too. They're both asleep. I don't want to wake them. I just need to see that they're okay. The nurse studied her for a moment, then nodded. Room 412. But if you wake that little girl, she'll probably cry. She finally settled down an hour ago. Olivia walked quietly down the hallway, past rooms where people fought private battles with pain and illness and fear. She'd never spent much time in hospitals. Her father's stroke had been handled at a private facility. Her own health was maintained through preventive care and concierge medicine. This was different. Harsh fluorescent lights, sounds of monitors beeping, the smell of antiseptic barely covering something worse. Room 412 was dark except for the glow of medical equipment. Ethan lay in the bed, bandages white against his bruised skin, breathing steady but shallow. Lily was curled up in a chair pulled close to the bed, her small hand wrapped around his fingers, her face peaceful in sleep. Olivia stood in the doorway, watching them, father and daughter, surviving together, still fighting despite everything. She thought about her own father, lying in that expensive facility upstate, his mind gone, even though his body persisted. She visited once a month, sat beside his bed, told him about the company he'd built that she'd transformed into something he wouldn't recognize. He never responded, never showed any sign of understanding, just stared at the ceiling while machines kept him alive. Was that winning? Was that success? You're hovering. Ethan's voice was rough, barely above a whisper. His eyes were open, focused on her. Nurses hate that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wake you. Wasn't asleep. Hard to sleep when everything hurts. He shifted slightly, winced. How bad is it? Your ribs will heal. The concussion should resolve. Physically, you'll be fine. I meant the other stuff. The company, Richard, whatever storm is about to hit. Olivia stepped into the room, keeping her voice low. I'm handling it. By destroying your career, I heard you on the phone in the warehouse. You threatened to burn everything down. For me. For what's right. Right. Ethan made a sound that might have been a laugh if it didn't hurt so much. You know what's funny? I spent 5 years being angry at Hayes Industries, at the decision that closed Tecton, at the person who signed off on it without thinking about the people it would hurt. I blamed that person for everything. for Jennifer's death, for my life falling apart, for all of it. You should blame me. It was my decision. Yeah, it was, and it destroyed my life. He looked at his sleeping daughter. But it also led to this. To me, finding a way to help kids who had nobody. To me, becoming someone Jennifer would have been proud of. To Lily growing up seeing that you can lose everything and still choose to be decent. That's a generous way to look at it. It's the only way to look at it and stay sane. Because if I spend my life being bitter about the past, I can't do anything about the present. He turned his attention back to her. So here's my question. What are you going to do about your present? I'm going to expose Richard, make sure he faces consequences, clean up the company. And then I don't know. Step down, probably. Let someone without blood on their hands run things. That's not cleaning up. That's running away. The accusation stung because it was accurate. What would you have me do? Stay and pretend I didn't build a system that enabled everything Richard did? Stay and build something better. You've got resources, connections, power. You can either walk away and let someone else make the same mistakes, or you can use what you've got to actually fix things. Ethan's voice was getting tired, his words slurring slightly. Your choice. But don't pretend walking away is some noble sacrifice. It's just easier than doing the hard work. He closed his eyes, exhaustion finally claiming him. Within seconds, his breathing evened out, back to sleep. Olivia stood there, stung by the truth of it. Walking away would be easier, cleaner. She could sell her shares, disappear to some private island, spend the rest of her life being quietly wealthy and uninvolved. But Ethan was right. That wasn't redemption. That was just giving up. She left the room quietly, found the nurse at the desk. I'm arranging for a private room for Mr. Cole and his daughter. Something more comfortable. And I want security posted outside their door. Private security, not hospital staff. Ms. Hayes, we don't typically bill it to me personally. And make sure they have whatever they need, food, clothes for the girl, anything. Back in the car, Miguel waited patiently. Home now? Yeah, home. Her apartment was in a building so expensive it didn't have to advertise. Doormen who knew everyone. Elevators that required key cards. The kind of security that kept the world at a comfortable distance. Olivia's unit took up the entire 42nd floor, 3,000 square feet of minimalist luxury that an interior designer had made perfect and sterile. She walked through rooms that didn't feel lived in, past furniture chosen for aesthetics rather than comfort, and stood at her own floor-to-ceiling windows looking at a view similar to her office. The city from above. Distant and controlled. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, then recognized the area code. Millbrook. Ms. Hayes, Anna's voice tight with stress. I'm sorry to call so late. I got your number from the hospital, but something's happened. Olivia's stomach dropped. What? The center. Someone broke in tonight, trashed the place, broke furniture, tore up books, spray-painted threats on the walls. The kids' artwork is destroyed. Everything. What kind of threats? Things like close down or else, and you're not wanted here. Ms. Hayes, the kids are terrified. Some of them saw it happen, were hiding in the back when these men came through. They said the men were looking for something, asking about Ethan. Richard. Still pushing, still threatening, still trying to eliminate anything that made Olivia care. Anna, listen to me carefully. Take photos of everything. Document all the damage. Don't clean anything up yet. Then I want you to take all the kids somewhere safe. A church, a school, anywhere with security and people around. Can you do that? Yes, but Ms. Hayes, we can't rebuild from this. We barely had enough supplies to begin with, and if these people come back, they won't. I'm going to make sure of it. Just keep the kids safe tonight. Tomorrow, I'm coming to Millbrook. We're going to fix this. After hanging up, Olivia stood in her perfect apartment, surrounded by expensive things that meant nothing, and made a decision. She called David back. It's 11 at night, Olivia. This better be... I'm done playing it safe. I'm done building cases. Richard attacked a community center full of children tonight. Terrorized kids who've already been abandoned by everyone else. So here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow morning, we're calling the FBI, the SEC, and the district attorney. We're giving them everything. And then I'm holding a press conference to make sure the whole world knows what Hayes Industries has become. Olivia, that's the right thing to do, finally. Maybe for the first time in my career. She paced her living room, energy replacing exhaustion. I don't care if the stock tanks. I don't care if I lose my job. I care about making sure Richard can't hurt anyone else. And I care about showing those kids that someone with power actually gives a damn about them. Silence. Then David sighed. Okay, if you're committed to this, let's do it properly. I'll start making calls tonight. But Olivia, once we start this, we can't stop it. It's going to get ugly. It's already ugly. At least this way it might lead somewhere better. She spent the rest of the night preparing. Called Jonathan Price, gave him an exclusive preview of the story. Called her board members one by one, ignoring the late hour, telling them there would be an emergency meeting in the morning. Called every regulatory agency David recommended, setting appointments, promising evidence. By dawn, she'd built a war plan. By 7 a.m., she was back in her office, showered and changed, running on coffee and determination. Marcus arrived at 7:30, took one look at her, and said, "What's happening?" "Revolution. Get me Richard Voss's location. I want him in conference room A by 8:30. "Ms. Hayes, he's not scheduled." "I don't care. Find him and tell him I need to see him immediately. Tell him it's about coal. That'll get him here." While she waited, the board members arrived, looking confused and irritated. 8 powerful people who'd helped her build Hayes Industries, who'd profited from every ruthless decision, who'd applauded her efficiency. At 8:30, Richard walked into the conference room, confident and composed. "Olivia, I got your message. What's this about?" "Sit down." He looked at the board members, at their expressions, and his confidence faltered slightly. "What's going on?" "You're fired. Effective immediately. Security is already clearing out your office. You have 10 minutes to leave the building before I call the police." Richard laughed. "You can't fire me. I have a contract. I have relationships with half the people in this room. And I have information that would destroy you if it became public." "You mean the information about corporate espionage? About Vanguard Strategic Consulting? About your shell companies and offshore accounts?" Olivia opened her laptop, turned it so everyone could see the screen. "Because I've spent the last 12 hours giving that information to federal authorities. They're very interested." Richard's face went pale. "You're bluffing." FBI agent Sarah Chen would disagree. "She's downstairs right now with a warrant for your arrest. Corporate espionage, fraud, conspiracy, kidnapping. They've been building a case for 6 months. I just gave them the final pieces they needed." That was a slight exaggeration. The FBI was downstairs, but the case was hours old, not months. But Richard didn't know that. "This is insane." Richard turned to the board. "You're going to let her destroy the company over some personal vendetta? She's having an emotional breakdown. She's not thinking clearly." Actually," said Patricia Morrison, the board member who'd been with the company longest, "I think she's thinking more clearly than she has in years. I've been worried about some of your activities, Richard, your expense reports, your private meetings, but Olivia vouched for you, so I stayed quiet." Patricia looked at Olivia. "I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner." Other board members nodded. Not all of them. 2 looked angry, probably the ones Richard had cultivated most carefully. But enough. A majority. Richard's composure finally cracked. "You stupid woman, you have no idea what you've done. I was protecting you, protecting this company. And you're throwing it away for what? A janitor? Some poor kids nobody cares about?" "I care about them. That's the difference between us." "The difference between us," Richard said, his voice venomous, "is that I understand how the world actually works. Power, money, control, that's what matters. Not sentiment, not morality, not saving people who can't save themselves." "You're right. That is the difference." Olivia stood. "Security, please escort Mr. Voss out of the building." 2 guards appeared, professionals who'd been briefed on exactly how this would go. Richard looked between them, at Olivia, at the board members who were avoiding his gaze. "This isn't over," he said. "You think you've won, but you've just started a war you can't finish." "Good. I'm tired of peace that costs too much." They let him out. Through the glass walls, Olivia watched him go, this man who'd been her mentor and partner and secret enemy. Part of her felt satisfaction. Most of her just felt tired. Patricia stood. "Olivia, we need to discuss damage control. Richard's arrest is going to cause chaos. Stock will drop. Investors will panic. We need a strategy." I know. That's why I've scheduled a press conference for 10 a.m. I'm going to explain everything, the fraud, the corruption, the steps we're taking to fix it. That's commercial suicide. Maybe. Or maybe it's the only way to save the company's soul. Olivia looked at each board member in turn. I'm not asking permission. I'm informing you of my decision. If you want to replace me after this, that's your right. But I'm doing this regardless. The room was silent. Then Patricia smiled, a real smile that reached her eyes. About damn time someone in this industry showed some backbone. I'm with you. One by one, the others nodded agreement. Even the two who'd seemed angry earlier, though they looked reluctant. All right then. Olivia checked her watch. I have 90 minutes to prepare. Anyone have objections they want to voice now before this becomes official? No one spoke. Good. Let's get to work. The press conference was held in the main auditorium, usually reserved for product launches and investor meetings. Today it was packed with reporters, cameras, and curious employees who'd heard rumors and wanted to know what was happening to their company. Olivia stood at the podium, notes in front of her that she'd decided not to use. This needed to be honest, raw, not corporate speak and careful phrasing. Good morning. My name is Olivia Hayes, and I'm the CEO of Hayes Industries. I'm here to tell you about the worst mistake of my career, actually, about many mistakes, but one in particular that's led to everything happening today. She told them about Tecton, about the decision 5 years ago to cancel contracts, about the bankruptcy that followed, about the lives destroyed by her efficiency. She told them about Ethan Cole, about Jennifer's death, about a man who'd survived her decisions and somehow become better instead of bitter. Then she told them about Richard Voss, about the fraud, the espionage, the violence, about a system so corrupt that it tried to destroy an innocent man rather than admit wrongdoing. I'm responsible, she said, not just for Richard's crimes, though I should have caught them sooner, but for building a culture where efficiency mattered more than people, where profit was the only metric of success, where we measured ourselves by how much we could take instead of how much we could give. The room was absolutely silent. Cameras captured every word. So here's what's going to change. Starting today, Hayes Industries is committing to a full ethics review of every department, every decision, every practice. We're establishing an independent oversight board with real power to investigate and correct problems. We're implementing new policies that consider community impact, not just financial returns. And we're setting up a fund to help the people in communities hurt by our past decisions. She paused, looking directly at the cameras. This will cost us. In stock value, in efficiency, in competitive advantage. Some of you watching this are probably already planning to short our stock. That's your right. But I'd rather run a company that's worth less money and worth more as a human institution than continue building an empire on other people's suffering. More silence. Then someone started clapping. A reporter in the back row. Then another. Then more. Until half the room was applauding while the other half sat in stunned silence. Olivia stepped away from the podium, ignored the shouted questions, and walked out. In the hallway, Marcus was waiting with her phone. You're trending on every social media platform. The stock is down 12% and dropping. And you have about 40 messages from people who either think you're a hero or think you've lost your mind. What do you think? I think you just made my job a lot more interesting. He smiled. Where to now? Millbrook. I have a community center to rebuild. The drive took 40 minutes. By the time they arrived, news vans were already there, having followed the press conference thread. Jonathan Price stood outside with his camera crew, looking satisfied. Hell of a story, he said when Olivia approached. You know this is going to define your career, right? Everything else you've done, everything you might do, this is what people will remember. Good. Maybe it'll inspire someone to make better choices than I did. Inside the center, the damage was worse than Anna had described. Every piece of furniture was broken or overturned. Books lay in shredded piles. The children's artwork was torn from the walls, destroyed. Spray paint covered every surface, profane and threatening. Anna was there with a few volunteers trying to salvage what they could. She looked up when Olivia entered, exhaustion and defeat in her expression. Ms. Hayes, I don't know where to start. We can't fix this. We don't have the money or the resources or... Yes, you do. Because I'm giving them to you. Olivia pulled out her phone, made a call. Marcus, I need contractors at this address. Full renovation team. Whatever it takes to make this space safe and functional. I don't care about the cost, and I need it done in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, Ms. Hayes, that's possible with enough money and motivation. Make it happen. She hung up, turned to Anna. The center is getting a complete renovation. New furniture, new supplies, new everything, plus an endowment that will fund operations indefinitely. You'll never have to worry about money again. Anna's eyes filled with tears. Why? Why would you do this? Because Ethan shouldn't have to sacrifice everything to help people. Because these kids deserve better. And because I have a lot to make up for. One of the volunteers, a teenager Olivia recognized from her first night watching the center, spoke up. Is Mr. Ethan okay? We heard something bad happened. He's recovering. He'll be back soon. Good, because we need him. He's the only adult who actually cares, who doesn't just pretend or do it for credit or whatever. He actually means it. Olivia nodded, understanding exactly what the kid meant. Ethan had earned their trust by showing up, by being consistent, by caring when no one else did. She spent the rest of the morning working alongside Anna and the volunteers, clearing debris, documenting damage, planning the renovation. Her expensive suit got dirty. Her hands got scratched. And for the first time in years, she felt like she was actually accomplishing something real. By afternoon, the contractors had arrived. So had news crews drawn by the story of a billionaire CEO doing manual labor in a broken-down community center. Olivia ignored them, focused on the work. Her phone rang constantly. Board members with updates, lawyers with questions, reporters wanting interviews. She ignored most of it, letting Marcus handle what he could. But when the hospital called, she answered immediately. Ms. Hayes, this is Dr. Patterson. Mr. Cole is asking to speak with you. He's insisting on leaving against medical advice, and I thought perhaps you could convince him to stay another day. Put him on. A pause, then Ethan's voice, still rough but stronger. They're telling me I need to stay, but I need to check on the center. Anna told me what happened. The center is being handled. I'm here right now. We're rebuilding everything. You're there, personally there? Personally here, with contractors and a renovation budget that would make you pass out if you knew the numbers. Silence. Then, why? Because you were right. Walking away isn't redemption. Fixing things is. So that's what I'm doing, starting here. Olivia. He'd never used her first name before. It sounded strange, intimate. Thank you for all of this, for caring. Thank you for showing me what caring actually looks like. She hung up, got back to work. By evening, the center had been cleared of debris. The contractors had assessed the damage and promised a 2-week timeline that would transform the space. Anna was already planning new programs, her exhaustion replaced by cautious hope. I never thought this would happen, she said, looking at the plans spread across a makeshift table. I thought we'd just keep scraping by forever, or eventually give up. You don't have to scrape by anymore. You've got resources now, use them. What about Ethan? When he comes back, what happens to him? Does he still work at Hayes Industries? That's up to him. But whatever he decides, his daughter's education is paid for. College, graduate school, whatever she needs. And the center has an endowment that'll fund it for the next 50 years. With or without Ethan, this place survives. Anna wiped her eyes. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep helping these kids. That's thanks enough. Olivia left as the sun was setting, casting long shadows across Millbrook's broken streets. Miguel was waiting with the car, patient as always. Long day, he observed. Longest of my life. And it's not over yet. Where to? The hospital. One more stop. Ethan was awake when she arrived, sitting up in bed, looking less damaged than yesterday, but still bruised and bandaged. Lily was doing homework at a small table the hospital had provided, her tongue sticking out in concentration. Look, Daddy, I got all the math problems right. She held up her worksheet proudly. That's my girl, smart like your mom. Mom was the smartest person ever, right? Tied with you. You're both the smartest people I know. Lily beamed, went back to her homework. Ethan watched her with an expression Olivia was learning to recognize. Love mixed with fear, pride mixed with worry, the constant tension of single parenthood. How are you feeling? Olivia asked from the doorway. Like I got hit by several large men, but better than yesterday. He gestured to the visitor chair. Come in. I promise I won't bleed on you. She sat, suddenly unsure what to say. This man she barely knew had changed her entire life in 3 days, had shown her what she'd been missing, what she'd been running from, what she'd been too afraid to see. I'm sorry, she said finally. For what? For everything. For the decision that destroyed your life. For not catching Richard sooner. For building a company that valued profit over people. For... Stop, Ethan held up his hand. I already forgave you for Tecton. Not because you earned it, because holding on to anger was killing me from the inside. And yeah, your company made decisions that hurt me. But you know what? I made the choice to turn that pain into purpose. That's on me, not you. You're being too generous. I'm being realistic. You can't carry guilt for every consequence of every decision. You'll go crazy. Trust me. I tried. Lily looked up from her homework. Daddy, is Ms. Olivia your friend? I think so. Is that okay? Yeah, she helped us. Friends help each other. Simple logic from a 7-year-old. But accurate. Lily's right, Olivia said. Friends help each other. So let me help you. Your job at Hayes Industries, if you want to come back, you can. With a real position, real pay, real benefits. Or if you don't want anything to do with the company, I understand, but either way, I'm making sure you and Lily are taken care of. I don't want charity. It's not charity. It's compensation for what the company took from you. Call it whatever makes you comfortable, but take it. Because Lily deserves better than living in that building. And you deserve better than working yourself to death while trying to save everyone else. Ethan looked at his daughter, at her homework, and her hopeful face, and Olivia saw the moment he decided to accept. Not for himself. For her. Okay, but I have conditions. Name them. The center stays independent. I don't want Hayes Industries taking it over or controlling it. Your endowment, your support, that's appreciated. But the center belongs to the community. Agreed. And I want to work with the oversight board you mentioned, the one making sure the company doesn't hurt people anymore. I want to be part of making sure what happened to me doesn't happen to others. Absolutely. You'd be perfect for it. Then, okay. We have a deal. He held out his hand and she shook it, his grip firm despite the bandages. Partners in fixing what's broken. Partners. Olivia stayed for another hour talking about plans for the center, about changes at the company, about everything that had happened and everything that needed to happen next. Lily finished her homework and curled up in the chair to watch cartoons on the small hospital TV. The moment felt ordinary, simple, real. When she finally left, the hospital corridors were quiet. The evening shift settled in. At the elevator, she ran into Dr. Patterson. Ms. Hayes, I wanted to thank you for what you're doing for Mr. Cole. We see a lot of patients who fall through the cracks. It's nice when someone catches them. I almost didn't. I almost let him fall. But you didn't. That's what matters. The drive back to her apartment should have felt lonely. Instead, it felt purposeful. Like she was finally moving towards something instead of just away from everything. At home, she opened her laptop to dozens of notifications. The press conference had gone viral. Some people praised her courage. Others called her naive. The stock had stabilized at 14% down, not great, but not catastrophic. More importantly, she had emails from community organizations, nonprofits, other companies asking about her ethics initiative, asking how they could implement similar changes, asking if this was real or just publicity. She answered each one personally, sending details, sharing documents, being honest about mistakes and uncertainties. By midnight, she was exhausted but satisfied, the kind of tired that came from actually doing something instead of just managing things. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Ethan. Anna gave me your personal number. Just wanted to say thank you for everything, for seeing us, for caring, for choosing to be different. She typed back. Thank you for showing me what different looks like. Rest and recover. Tomorrow we start rebuilding. Tomorrow, he confirmed. Olivia set her phone down, looked out at the city, and allowed herself to feel something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not naive hope that everything would be fixed easily, but realistic hope that fixing things was possible, that change could happen, that she could be part of making the world slightly less broken. It wasn't redemption. Not yet. Maybe not ever. but it was a start. 3 months felt like 3 years when you were rebuilding everything you'd ever believed about yourself. Olivia stood in the renovated community center, watching children flood through doors that no longer hung crooked, into spaces that smelled like fresh paint instead of mold. The transformation was complete. New floors, new furniture, a proper kitchen, classrooms with actual desks and supplies, even a small library filled with books the kids could actually keep. But the real transformation wasn't the building. It was the faces of the people inside it. "Ms. Hayes!" Maya, the little girl Olivia had first seen through a gap in the boards, ran up with a book clutched to her chest. "Look, I finished the whole chapter book by myself." "That's incredible, Maya. What's next?" "Ms. Anna says I can read anything I want now. She says I'm ready for the hard books." "Then you better get started. You've got a lot of reading ahead of you." Maya grinned and ran off to show her achievement to anyone who'd listen. Anna appeared beside Olivia, clipboard in hand, looking remarkably different from 3 months ago. Less exhausted, more hopeful, actually smiling. "Attendance is up 40% since reopening," Anna said. "We've got kids coming from 6 different schools now. Word's spreading that this place is real, that it's not going anywhere." "Good. That was the point. It's more than that, though. It's what you and Ethan did together. The funding, yes, but also the visibility. When a billionaire CEO shows up personally to help rebuild a community center in Millbrook, people notice. They start thinking maybe their kids matter after all." Olivia watched the children, listened to their laughter echoing off walls that had once been marked with threats. "I didn't do this for visibility." "I know. That's why it matters." Ethan emerged from one of the classrooms, looking healthier than he had in the hospital, but still carrying the ghost of those injuries in the way he moved. Lily was with him, holding a stack of papers that were clearly her artwork. "Daddy, can we put these on the wall, in the good frames?" "Absolutely. Your art deserves to be seen." "Ms. Olivia." Lily spotted her and rushed over. "I made one for you too. See? It's you and Daddy and me and all the kids. We're all together." The drawing was simple, the kind of honest art children created before they learned to doubt themselves. Stick figures holding hands in front of a building with the sun shining overhead, hopeful and uncomplicated. "It's perfect," Olivia said, taking it carefully. "Can I keep it?" "That's why I made it, for your office, so you remember us." "I could never forget you." Ethan walked over, his expression amused. "She's been working on that for 2 weeks. Very serious about getting the proportions right." "Well, she succeeded. This is going in a frame on my desk." "Your desk that you barely sit at anymore," Anna observed. "I swear you're here more than you're at Hayes Tower." That was probably true. Over the past 3 months, Olivia had split her time between the company and Millbrook, finding that the latter felt more important than the former most days. The board had accepted her new direction, partly because they believed in it, and partly because the alternative was replacing her during a crisis. The stock had recovered to within 5% of its previous value. The ethics overhaul was ongoing, messy, revealing problems they'd all pretended didn't exist. And Richard Voss was in federal custody, facing 17 charges ranging from corporate espionage to kidnapping. His trial was set for next month. Olivia would have to testify, relive everything, make it all public record. She wasn't looking forward to it, but she wasn't running from it either. "I need to get back to the tower," she said, checking her watch. "Board meeting at 3, but I'll be back tomorrow. We're supposed to finalize the mentorship program details." "Before you go," Ethan said, "can we talk? Privately?" They walked outside, away from the noise and energy of the center. The neighborhood still looked rough, but there were signs of change. New businesses opening, buildings getting repaired, people looking less defeated. "What's wrong?" Olivia asked. "Nothing's wrong. That's actually what I wanted to talk about." Ethan leaned against the building's new exterior wall. "Things are good. Better than good. The center's thriving. Lily's happy. I've got a job I actually care about on your oversight board. We've got stability for the first time in years." "I hear a but coming." "But I'm worried about you." That caught her off guard. "Me? I'm fine." "You're exhausted. You're working 16-hour days between the company and here. You're trying to fix everything and everyone, and you're running yourself into the ground doing it. I can handle it. That's not the point. The point is, you're doing what I used to do. Sacrificing yourself because you think you owe some kind of debt. Ethan's voice was gentle but firm. Olivia, you've done incredible things. You've changed lives. You've changed yourself. But you can't carry the weight of every past mistake forever. At some point, you have to forgive yourself. I'm not sure I know how. Yeah, well, neither did I. Still working on it, honestly. But I've learned that redemption isn't about punishing yourself until you feel you've suffered enough. It's about becoming someone different, someone better. And you've already done that. Have I? Or am I just performing a different version of the same character? Ruthless CEO becomes charitable martyr. Same control issues, different target. Ethan laughed, actually laughed. Okay, that's fair. You definitely have control issues. But at least now you're controlling things toward helping people instead of just accumulating power. Is that enough? It's a start. And starts are all anyone gets. The rest is just showing up consistently and trying not to mess up too badly. He paused. Look, I'm not saying stop caring. I'm saying remember to care about yourself too. Because Lily asks about you, you know. She worries when you look tired. Says you remind her of how I used to look before everything changed. The idea that a 7-year-old was worrying about her made Olivia's chest tight. I'll try to take better care of myself. Good. Because we need you around, not just the center, me and Lily. We need you. There was something in the way he said it that felt significant, weighted with meaning beyond friendship or gratitude. Olivia met his eyes and saw something she hadn't expected to find. Connection. Real connection. The kind that wasn't built on business transactions or mutual benefit, but on shared experience and genuine understanding. I need you too, she said quietly. Both of you. You've taught me more in 3 months than I learned in 30 years of trying to conquer the world. What did we teach you? The power isn't about control. It's about choosing to stand with people instead of above them. That success isn't measured in dollars or market share, but in lives touched and hope restored. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you were wrong and try to do better. Ethan smiled. See, you're learning. Give yourself some credit. I'm trying. Try harder. That's an order from your oversight board colleague. You can't order your boss around. Watch me, boss. They walked back inside together, and Olivia realized she was smiling. Actually smiling, not the corporate mask she'd perfected, but genuine amusement and warmth. The board meeting that afternoon was tense, as most of them had been since Richard's arrest. 2 board members had resigned in protest, claiming Olivia's ethics initiative was destroying shareholder value. 3 new members had been added, chosen for their commitment to responsible business practices rather than just their financial expertise. Patricia Morrison was still there, still fierce, still pushing for change. The Chicago Facility Union has agreed to our new terms, Patricia reported. Better wages, better benefits, actual job security. In exchange, they're committing to productivity standards that we both find acceptable. How are the numbers looking? Olivia asked. Better than expected. Turns out when you treat workers well, they perform better. Shocking concept. Patricia's sarcasm was sharp but affectionate. We're actually seeing productivity increases across all the facilities that have implemented the new standards. What about the competition? Are they adjusting their strategies? Some are. Others are waiting to see if this is sustainable or just a publicity stunt. Patricia looked at Olivia directly. Which brings me to my next point. We need to talk about succession planning. The room went quiet. I'm not going anywhere, Olivia said. Not now. But you've put a target on your back with these changes. Other companies don't like what you're doing because it makes them look bad. Shareholders in those companies don't like it because it suggests alternative ways of measuring success. You've made enemies, Olivia, powerful ones, and we need to make sure that if something happens to you, these changes survive. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we build this into the company's constitution, make the ethics oversight board mandatory, make the community impact assessments required for all major decisions, make it so that whoever comes after you can't just undo everything we've built. It was smart, practical, exactly the kind of strategic thinking Olivia had always valued in Patricia. Draft the proposal. We'll vote on it next meeting. After the board dispersed, Olivia returned to her office to find Marcus waiting with a stack of messages and a concerned expression. Richard's lawyer called. They want to negotiate a plea deal. They're offering to provide testimony against his corporate espionage clients in exchange for reduced charges. What does David think? He thinks it's worth considering. We get the bigger fish, Richard still goes to prison, just not for as long. Olivia thought about it, about justice and revenge and the difference between them, about whether she wanted Richard to suffer or just wanted him stopped. Tell David to negotiate, but I want to approve the final terms before anything's signed. Understood. Also, you have a visitor. She's waiting in conference room C. Who? She wouldn't say, just said she needed to speak with you about Tecton Manufacturing. Olivia felt her stomach drop. Tecton, the ghost that had started everything. The woman in conference room C was in her 50s, wearing clothes that had been nice once but were now worn at the edges. Her hands were rough, her expression guarded. She stood when Olivia entered. Ms. Hayes, thank you for seeing me. I'm Susan Park. I worked at Tecton for 12 years before it closed. Ms. Park, please sit. What can I do for you? Susan sat, but her posture remained tense. I heard about what you've been doing, the ethics initiative, the community center, helping Ethan Cole, and I thought maybe you'd want to know what happened to the rest of us. I do, very much. Most of us found work eventually, not good work, not like Tecton, but enough to survive. Some didn't, some gave up. A few died. Health issues they couldn't afford to treat, stress-related problems, one suicide. Susan's voice was matter of fact, but pain lurked beneath the surface. We scattered, lost touch, lost community. Tecton wasn't just jobs, it was family. And when it closed, that family broke apart. Olivia listened, letting the weight of it settle. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't change anything, but I am genuinely sorry. I didn't come here for an apology. I came here because I heard you're trying to make things right, and I wanted to know if that includes us, the ones you forgot about before. Yes, it does. What do you need? Susan pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. There are 43 of us from Tecton who are still struggling, can't find stable work, dealing with health issues we can't afford to treat, drowning in debt from the years we were unemployed. I made a list. Names, situations, what kind of help would make a difference? Olivia opened the folder, scanned the pages. Detailed notes on each person. Medical bills, job skills, family situations. Susan had done thorough work. You put this together yourself? Someone had to. We were invisible before. I'm tired of being invisible. You're not invisible, not anymore. Olivia pulled out her phone, called Marcus. I need you to set up a meeting with our HR director and our community investment team. Tomorrow morning. High priority. She turned back to Susan. Here's what we're going to do. Hayes Industries is establishing a displaced workers fund specifically for people affected by our past business decisions. Tecton workers will be the first beneficiaries. We'll provide job placement assistance, skills retraining, medical care coverage for existing conditions, and financial support to address immediate crises. Susan stared at her. Why? We're just names on a list. Why would you do this? Because you're not just names on a list. You're people whose lives my company disrupted. And because I'm learning that real power isn't about making the biggest profit. It's about taking responsibility for the consequences of your choices. That's going to cost millions. Then it costs millions. We've been making plenty of money. Time we spent some of it on actually helping people. Susan's eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. I didn't expect this. I thought maybe you'd feel guilty enough to hire a few of us. I didn't expect actual change. Yeah, neither did I 3 months ago. But here we are. Here we are, Susan echoed. She wiped her eyes, steadied herself. Thank you, Ms. Hayes, from all of us. Thank you. After Susan left, Olivia sat in the conference room, staring at the folder of names. 43 people. 43 lives disrupted. And those were just the ones Susan knew about. How many others had been affected? How many families broken? How many futures derailed? She couldn't fix all of it, couldn't undo the past. But she could acknowledge it, take responsibility, try to help. That evening, she drove back to Millbrook. The center was closed for the night, but lights were on in Ethan's new apartment, a real apartment in a better building, safe and clean, with room for Lily to have her own bedroom. Olivia had helped arrange it, along with furniture and everything else they needed. She knocked. Ethan answered in sweatpants and a t-shirt, looking domestic and comfortable. "Olivia, is everything okay? Can I come in? I need to talk." "Of course." Inside, Lily was already asleep in her room, door slightly ajar, so Ethan could hear if she needed him. The apartment was lived in but organized, with Lily's artwork on the walls and books stacked everywhere. It felt like a home. "Want coffee? Tea? I've got both now that I can actually afford groceries." "Tea is fine." They sat at his small kitchen table while water heated. Ethan studied her expression and said, "Something happened. A woman came to see me today. Susan Park. She worked at Tecton." "I remember Susan. She ran the quality control department. Good person. How is she?" "Struggling? Like most of the people who lost jobs when Tecton closed, she brought me a list of 43 people who need help." "And you're going to help them?" "I'm going to try." But Ethan, it made me realize something. There are probably thousands of people affected by decisions I've made over the years. Tecton was just one company. We've closed facilities, canceled contracts, laid off workers in pursuit of efficiency. How many Susan Parks are out there that I'll never know about? Probably a lot. That's what scares me. I can't fix it all, can't even find it all. So what's the point? What's the point of trying when the damage is already done and I can't possibly make it right? Ethan poured hot water over tea bags, set a cup in front of her. "The point is you're trying. Look, you're never going to achieve perfect redemption. You're never going to balance the scales completely. That's not how life works. But you can choose every day to do better than you did yesterday, to help the people you can reach, to build systems that prevent future harm. That's all anyone can do. It doesn't feel like enough. It never does. Trust me, I spent 2 years thinking nothing I did for those kids mattered because there were so many more I couldn't reach. But Anna told me something that helped. She said, even if you can't help everyone, you can help someone. And to that someone, it changes everything." Olivia sipped her tea, let the warmth spread through her. "When did you get so wise?" "When I stopped being angry and started paying attention. Anger's easier, honestly, but it doesn't build anything. I'm still angry sometimes. At Richard, at myself, at the system that made all of this possible. Good. Use that anger, but don't let it consume you. Let it motivate you instead." They talked for another hour about the center, about the company, about Lily's progress in school and the new reading program they were implementing. Easy conversation, the kind Olivia had forgotten was possible. Not strategic, not transactional, just two people who understood each other talking about life. When she finally left, Ethan walked her to the door. "Thank you," she said, "for listening, for being patient with me while I figure this out. Thank you for caring enough to try. A lot of people in your position wouldn't. A lot of people in your position wouldn't have survived what you survived and come out better for it. We're both just trying to be decent humans, probably overthinking it." Olivia smiled. "Probably." She was halfway down the hallway when he called after her. "Olivia? Would you want to have dinner sometime? Not business dinner, just dinner." She turned back, saw him looking uncertain in his doorway, and felt something shift in her chest. "I'd like that. A lot." "Good. Me too." The next 6 weeks passed in a blur of activity. The Displaced Workers Fund launched with significant media attention. 38 of the 43 people on Susan's list found jobs or received assistance. The Ethics Oversight Board completed its first comprehensive review, resulting in policy changes across 17 departments. The Millbrook Center expanded to offer evening programs for adults, providing job training and education. And through it all, Olivia found herself spending more time with Ethan and Lily. Dinners became regular. Weekends included trips to museums and parks. Lily started calling her Miss Olivia instead of Ms. Hayes, which felt significant. The trial started on a cold morning in late January. Olivia arrived at the courthouse to find protesters on both sides, some supporting her reforms, others calling her a traitor to capitalism. News vans lined the street. Security was heavy. Inside, Richard looked smaller than she remembered, diminished. His expensive suit couldn't hide the fact that he was a man facing consequences for the first time in his life. Their eyes met across the courtroom. He looked away first. The prosecution built their case methodically: corporate espionage, fraud, conspiracy, kidnapping. Each charge backed by evidence Olivia had helped provide. She testified for 6 hours over 2 days, recounting everything from the Tecton decision to discovering Richard's betrayal to finding Ethan beaten in that warehouse. Richard's lawyer tried to paint her as an unreliable witness, someone with a vendetta, someone whose judgment was compromised by emotion. But the evidence spoke for itself. On day 4, Richard accepted the plea deal: 15 years in federal prison in exchange for testimony against his corporate espionage clients. The judge accepted the terms. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Olivia made a brief statement. "Justice has been served today, but this isn't a victory. It's a reminder that systems of power can be corrupted if we're not vigilant. Hayes Industries is committed to ensuring this never happens again. We're committed to transparency, accountability, and putting people before profits." That's not a slogan, it's a promise. She took no questions, letting her lawyer handle the follow-up while she escaped to where Miguel waited with the car. But instead of going back to the office, she gave him an address in Millbrook. Ethan was at the center when she arrived, helping teenagers prepare for their GED exams. He looked up when she entered, read her expression, and immediately stood. "How did it go?" "It's over. 15 years. He accepted the plea. How do you feel?" Olivia considered the question honestly. Tired, relieved, still angry, but mostly just tired. "Come here." He pulled her into a hug, and she let herself lean into it, let someone else hold her up for a moment. Lily appeared from somewhere, wrapped her arms around both of them. "Group hug. We're good at group hugs." They were. Surprisingly good. That night, after the center closed and Lily was asleep, Olivia and Ethan sat on his apartment's small balcony, sharing a bottle of wine neither of them particularly liked but drank anyway. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said. "Always." "What happens now? The trial's over. Richard's going to prison. The company's changing. The center's stable. What's next for you?" "I don't know. Keep doing what I'm doing, I guess. Keep trying to fix things." "That's not a plan. That's a treadmill. What would you suggest?" "I'd suggest you figure out what you actually want, not what you think you owe or what you should do. What do you want?" Olivia looked out at Millbrook's lights, at this neighborhood that had taught her more than Harvard Business School ever did. "I want to matter. Not because I'm rich or powerful or because my name is on a building. I want to matter because I made things better, because people's lives improved because I existed." "You already do that." "Do I? Or am I just less terrible than I used to be?" "Both can be true, and both matter." Ethan refilled their glasses. "Here's what I know. 3 months ago, my daughter and I were barely surviving. Now we're thriving. That's because of you. 43 people from Tecton who are struggling now have hope. That's because of you. Hundreds of kids in Millbrook have a safe place to learn and grow. That's because of you. So yeah, you matter. You matter a lot. I couldn't have done any of it without you showing me what was possible." "Then we matter together. Good thing we're friends." "Is that what we are? Friends?" Ethan set down his wine glass, turned to face her directly. "I don't know. What do you want us to be?" It was the same question he'd asked about her future. What did she want? She wanted this, these quiet moments, this man who'd survived her worst decisions and somehow forgave her. This child who'd adopted her into their small family without hesitation. This life that wasn't perfect or easy, but was real. "I want us to be whatever we can be," she said carefully. "I want to keep having dinners and helping with homework and building something that matters. I want to be part of your life and have you be part of mine. Is that enough?" "It's more than enough. It's everything." He kissed her then, gentle and uncertain, asking permission with the gesture. She kissed him back, answering yes, yes to this, yes to possibility, yes to trying to build something good from the wreckage of the past. When they pulled apart, he was smiling. That was unexpected. Good unexpected or bad unexpected? Very good, scary good, the kind that makes you think maybe life can actually change for the better. Life can change. We're proof of that. Yeah, we are. 6 months later, Olivia stood at a podium in front of 500 business leaders at the National Commerce Conference. She'd been invited to speak about Hayes Industries' transformation, about ethics in business, about measuring success beyond profit margins. A year ago, she would have talked about strategy and market share. Today, she talked about people. I used to think power meant control, she said. The ability to make decisions that shaped markets and moved millions of dollars. I measured success by stock prices and acquisition deals. I thought being ruthless was being smart. She paused, scanning the audience. Faces that reminded her of her younger self. Ambitious, hungry, convinced that winning meant taking more than you gave. I was wrong. Power isn't about control. It's about responsibility. Success isn't about how much you accumulate. It's about how many lives you improve. And being ruthless isn't smart. It's just being willing to sacrifice other people for your goals. Some people in the audience were nodding. Others looked skeptical. A few looked hostile. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that changing Hayes Industries has been easy or profitable in the short term. We've taken hits to our stock value. We've lost contracts because we wouldn't compromise our new ethics standards. We've had to make hard choices that cost money. She clicked to the next slide showing graphs of their performance over the past 6 months. But we've also seen productivity increase, employee retention improve, innovation accelerate because people feel invested in what they're building. We're proving that you don't have to choose between doing good and doing well. You can do both. But only if you're willing to redefine what doing well actually means. After the speech, during the networking reception, a young woman approached, maybe 25, wearing a suit that was trying too hard, carrying herself with the aggressive confidence of someone still proving themselves. Ms. Hayes, I have to say, I don't buy it. Which part? All of it. You're a billionaire telling other billionaires to care about workers. It's easy to be generous when you've already made your fortune, but some of us are still trying to build ours. We can't afford to prioritize ethics over results. Olivia recognized herself in this woman, the younger version who'd thought compassion was weakness, who'd believed you had to be ruthless to matter. What's your name? Olivia asked. Jennifer Cross. I'm VP of Operations at TechCore. Jennifer, can I tell you something I wish someone had told me when I was your age? Sure. The fortune doesn't make you happy. The power doesn't fulfill you. You reach the top and realize it's just as empty as the bottom, except now you've hurt people getting there. And those people haunt you. Trust me on this. So what's the alternative? Be nice and lose? Be decent and win differently. Build something that lasts because it's good, not just because it's profitable. Leave a legacy that people thank you for instead of one they survive despite you. Jennifer looked unconvinced but thoughtful. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. Later that night, back in her hotel room, Olivia video called Ethan. His face appeared on screen, Lily visible in the background doing homework. How was the speech? He asked. I either inspired people or confirmed their belief that I've gone soft. Hard to tell. Did you believe what you said? Every word. Then it doesn't matter what they think. You're living your truth. That's what counts. Lily pushed into frame. Miss Olivia, I got an A on my science project, the one about plant growth. That's amazing. I knew you would. You worked so hard on it. Daddy helped, but I did most of it myself. That's exactly how it should be. I'm proud of you. After they hung up, Olivia sat in the quiet luxury of her hotel room and realized something. This mattered more than the speech, more than the conference, or the business leaders, or the potential influence. This connection, this family that had adopted her into their circle of care. She'd spent 30 years building an empire. Now she was learning to build a life. The following month, Hayes Industries announced a major restructuring. Not layoffs or consolidations, but a complete reorganization around sustainability and social impact. They established partnerships with community organizations in every city where they operated. They implemented profit-sharing programs for all employees. They committed to carbon neutrality by 2028. Wall Street was skeptical. Competitors were watching carefully, but orders kept coming in, and gradually the skepticism turned to curiosity. Maybe Hayes Industries was onto something. Olivia stepped back from day-to-day operations, appointing a new COO who shared her vision but brought fresh energy. She remained CEO but focused on strategic direction rather than operational details. More importantly, she focused on balance. She spent mornings at the office and afternoons at the center. She had dinner with Ethan and Lily 3 times a week. She visited her father every week, sitting beside his bed, telling him about the company he'd built, and how she was trying to make it something he'd be proud of, even if he couldn't understand. On a Saturday in early spring, the center hosted a celebration for its 1-year anniversary. The place was packed: kids, parents, volunteers, donors, community members. Music played, food was abundant, joy was palpable. Maya, who'd graduated from picture books to young adult novels, stood at a microphone to give a speech. A year ago, this place was falling apart. Some bad people tried to close it down. They thought we didn't matter. They thought nobody cared about kids like us. Maya's voice was steady, confident. But Mr. Ethan cared, and Miss Anna cared, and Miss Olivia cared. They fought for us. They rebuilt this place. They showed us that we do matter, that we're worth fighting for. The applause was thunderous. Olivia felt tears on her cheeks and didn't bother hiding them. Afterward, she found Ethan on the small patch of grass behind the building, watching Lily play with other kids. "Pretty good year," he observed. "Best year of my life, actually. Better than becoming the youngest female Fortune 500 CEO. So much better it's not even comparable." Ethan took her hand, intertwined their fingers. They'd been together for 4 months now, taking things slowly, figuring out how two people with complicated pasts built something simple and good. "I love you," he said. Not dramatically, just matter of fact, like commenting on the weather. "I love you too," she replied, equally simple. "Good. Because Lily's been asking when you're going to move in with us. Apparently you're here so much anyway that you might as well make it official." "Is that your way of asking me to move in?" "It's my way of saying that our family feels incomplete when you're not there. So yeah, if you want, move in, make it official, be part of this thing we're building." Olivia looked at him, at Lily laughing in the sunlight, at the center full of children who had hope because people chose to fight for them. She thought about her apartment, beautiful and empty, and about this small space in Millbrook that felt like home. "I want that. I want all of it. Even the part where you have to share a bathroom with a 7-year-old who forgets to put the cap back on the toothpaste. Especially that part." 6 months after that, on a Saturday morning, Olivia woke up in their apartment to the smell of pancakes and the sound of Lily singing off-key in the kitchen. She lay there for a moment, taking inventory of her life. She was CEO of a company that was profitable and ethical. She had a family she loved. She was making a difference in her community. She still had work to do, mistakes to fix, systems to change. But she was doing it, actually doing it. Her phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. "Board approved the constitutional changes. Everything we built is now permanent. You did it." Not you did it. We did it. Together. Olivia got up, pulled on a robe, and joined her family in the kitchen. Ethan was at the stove, Lily was setting the table, and they both looked up when she entered. "Morning," Ethan said, smiling. "Morning. Those better be chocolate chip pancakes." "Obviously. What do you think we are, amateurs?" Lily climbed onto her chair. "After breakfast, can we go to the center? I want to help Anna with the new reading program setup." "Sure. I need to check on some things there anyway." "You always have things to check on. Daddy says you're a workaholic." "Daddy's right, but I'm working on it." They ate breakfast together, arguing about whether chocolate chips counted as a legitimate breakfast food and planning their day. Normal domestic chaos. Imperfect and real and good. Afterward, as they walked to the center together, Lily between them holding both their hands, Olivia thought about the journey that had brought her here. Following a janitor into the darkness because she suspected theft. Finding community and purpose and love instead. She'd spent years believing power meant control. Success meant accumulation. Winning meant taking more than you gave. She'd built an empire on that foundation and found it empty. Now she understood. Real power was choosing to stand beside people instead of above them. Success was measured in lives improved, hope restored, communities strengthened. Winning meant giving more than you took and building something that lasted because it was good. She'd lost an empire and gained a family, lost certainty and gained purpose, lost control and gained freedom. The trade was worth it. Every difficult moment, every hard choice, every piece of herself she'd had to rebuild. Worth it. At the center, children streamed through doors that would never hang crooked again, into spaces that smelled like hope instead of desperation. Anna greeted them with her clipboard and her smile. Volunteers were setting up for the day's programs. Everything was exactly as it should be. Lily ran off to help, leaving Olivia and Ethan standing together in the middle of it all. "Thank you," Olivia said. "For what?" "For not giving up. For showing me what mattered, for letting me be part of this. Thank you for seeing us, for caring enough to change, for becoming someone different. I'm still becoming, still learning." "Yeah, me too. That's the point, I think. None of us are finished. We're all just works in progress, trying to be better than we were yesterday." Olivia looked around at the center, at the children and volunteers, at the community they'd built together from broken pieces. She thought about Hayes Industries evolving into something that balanced profit with purpose. She thought about the families they'd helped, the lives they'd touched, the systems they'd changed. It wasn't perfect. There were still problems to solve, injustices to address, mistakes to fix. But it was better. Genuinely, measurably better than it had been. And tomorrow they'd make it better still. That was enough. That was everything. Olivia Hayes had spent 30 years learning to take. Now she was learning to give. And in giving, she'd found what she'd been searching for all along. Not power, not control, not certainty, purpose, connection, love. The things that actually mattered, the things that lasted, the things worth fighting for.